Hello, my dudes, and welcome back to the Mike in the Press Pass podcast. I'm Mike.
I'm David.
I'm Beto.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome.
Beto floors.
Hey there, buddy.
A wild Mexican appeared.
Now that you're in the hot seat, you gotta do like a freestyle.
Oh, shit, son. Okay.
Over. No,
Yeah.
you just fucked up.
I was ready to get started. right there, too.
Before we start, what are you smoking on?
I'm smoking a Marquesa
Nice.
by Gurkha.
Uh-huh.
Gurk.
It is delicious. I like it.
Smoking an Illusion Ultra OP number 9.
Nice.
I had one in a minute.
Huh.
Once again with the Oliva V this week. See, I changed it up. Normally, I got like a Regis going on. I'm like, I'm gonna do something a little bit different.
I think I just might smoke like Oliva's when we podcast. I don't know. Because it's like right in front. I'm like, I'll just fucking get this.
Maybe.
Whatever.
It's like it's the same reason I smoke the Regis all the time. Is because it's just like, I don't know. I don't get them elsewhere, so I just pick up one up when I'm here. It's just the easy thing I don't gotta think about. Like, well, what do I want? Like, I know I like that. I smoke it all the time.
Cool. Well, if anybody doesn't know Beto, he's like my longtime friend from like middle school.
At least.
Yeah. And I'm tired of these fucking people from the Midwest and fucking Press Pass girlfriend coming by and shit like that. I've got to bring some color to this podcast.
That's right. Get the melting levels right.
Yeah. I don't like this shit, man. I don't like it. And I don't want to have it happen, bro.
I appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Wait, so this kind of seems like a Mexican's coming in and taking my job.
I don't know.
Maybe
this guy likes to party.
maybe I'm voting
I don't
for
know
Trump.
about you, bro.
I'm voting for Trump this election. This is bullshit. Fucking.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pase de Prensa, and I'm here with Mikey.
Mikey today.
So what do we got first on the... Oh, what have you been up to lately? Since I haven't been doing shit. How about you, Beto? What have you been doing this week?
Work. Really, my only respite is our occasional D&D sessions. So,
Yeah, we gonna get into it. We can get into it in a minute.
Yeah. But no, just work really and being at home.
Oh, yeah?
Being the family guy.
Were you, like, cooped up the whole time during the lockdown?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to avoid going anywhere outside of the stores.
Oh, yeah?
For essentials.
Oh.
And really, that was it.
Oh.
It was great because I don't like having to go to take Delia shopping and this and that.
Uh-huh.
So I had an excuse not to have to go anywhere. Which
Okay.
was, for me, it was pretty like, no, honey, it's on lockdown. Everything's closed. We couldn't go even if we wanted to, which I do. I do so bad.
Baby, I need to get the essentials like beer.
So,
But, it kind of got tiring after a while, and that cabin fever really does set in.
Yeah, I
So,
think you're the only person I've met out of our big friend group I've seen since then.
Yeah.
Or maybe, no, John. John gave me a haircut like 3 months into the lockdown. That was about it.
come to find out, all your friends have been hanging out with one another like without you. They're just like
Actually,
cutting you out.
No, kinda. Because I see like Ling hang out with like Bino and everybody else. I was like, what the fuck?
They're just cutting you out.
Yeah,
Like, this guy goes to the cigar shop. He's probably got fucking COVID.
Yeah.
I can't tell where that cough is from, so I'm just going to
Yeah.
assume the worst.
So how about you, Press Pass?
I've been up to some stuff. I got a deep fryer for my birthday last week.
Oh,
You broke it in finally?
So, oh yeah, I fucking went ape shit this week.
So it was like, what was the first couple items that you started with?
Just pretty basic jalapeno poppers, mozzarella sticks, corn dogs, and then I made some homemade potato chips. It didn't go as well as I thought. Like some of them came out pretty well, but the potatoes I used were just too small. I need
them russets.
well, yeah, I don't know what sort. Like I used Yukon Gold potatoes. I don't know if those make good potato chips. They have high water content, right? So maybe they don't make as good of potato chips.
I don't know.
That's probably something to take into consideration.
Yeah, well, I just had leftover potatoes from my old lady made me pasties for my birthday, and
Don't
so
you double fry? Like I know with French fries, you like double fry French fries to get a better texture and consistency. Does the same thing go for chips?
I don't know what double frying is. Like you just take them
Fry 'em
out,
once, you kind of parboil almost in a way.
like just take them out and let them sit for a second. And
Yeah,
then,
you cook it for a little bit, let them cool, then cook them again.
Oh, I didn't know that was a
I
thing.
don't-
So
Yeah, some things you do that, but
so yeah,
I don't know.
I cooked some fries. Just basic shit right now. I haven't got too wild yet, but I've just been using it take every opportunity I have. Like, yeah, I can fry this. I got all this fried stuff now.
Fry some pancakes.
Yeah.
Let me know when you deep fry the Oreos.
Yeah, everyone keeps telling me to deep fry Oreos.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm just gonna be like, meh, whatever.
Oh.
So, yeah, I've been doing that. Just I don't know if that's something I've been doing, but it's offset by the fact that I've also been working out with the resistance bands.
Uh-huh.
I was like, yeah, better get on this. Man, so I started out, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do the 20-pound one.
Yeah.
And I set the fucking, because you said to do it for time.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
didn't look anything up online? Like, there's like videos, you could do fall-alongs and stuff like that.
I just been doing basic, like, just arm and back workouts.
Okay.
But, like, yeah, even with the 10-pound one,
Mhm.
like, at 2 minutes,
Yeah.
it's fucking murder.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's like, get down to the end, like, the last 10 or 15 seconds, and it's like,
Yeah.
because you're just doing as many as you can, you
Yeah.
know, and, like, with 10 pounds, it doesn't seem like a lot at first, but then it adds up. So, that's been fun. I really haven't upgraded, and, like, I'm kind of a little afraid to use the leg one.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know why.
I'll fucking tear up your legs, dude.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I haven't been really playing around with it too much. I just kind of just do it every night a little bit. So, trying to work off those deep fry calories.
Uh-huh.
Gotta
Just
get-
offset it.
I gotta get over that corn dog hump.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I've been doing that. I played that new card game I got last night.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun. I like it all right. I really need to get the question answered about one of the game mechanics because I don't really know how that's supposed to play out. But pretty interesting. It's just a card game based on logical fallacies and kind of like debunking arguments that have certain logical fallacies. I'm hoping that at some point I can get to the God mode version, which is like you just have to be able to kind of deduce what the logical fallacies are.
Oh, do you
And-
hide it, or they have like a special deck?
This is just separate cards,
Mm.
and they don't have the ones on the front that you need, so you need to play the correct ones. And if you play the wrong ones, then you lose points, and then for every correct one, you get a point.
Oh.
And so it's like it's more requires you to analyze the arguments a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be cool. I think it'd be a cool thing for Chris's speech and debate team. Like-
The creator, was that his first go around making a game, or was it?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
He's predominantly a YouTuber, and I like his content for the most part. Although I haven't really followed him much in recent months. But yeah, I just showed like he had the card game like Kickstarter or whatever, and I was like, this sounds pretty fucking cool. Like, I'll back it was like $30 or something like that. So I was like, that's fine. So yeah, we checked that out last night. It was pretty good. Trying to think, I might be working for Metro again, the newspaper here in San Jose.
Oh yeah, I forgot you did stop working at it. Or they stopped giving you jobs, or I don't know how that works.
Well, I did work for them a year and a half ago, and then when I went to Chicago, like, and I got back, I just kind of contacted the editor a few times, and I never heard back from her, so I just kind of took that as a passive fuck off. But one of the reporters that I worked with over at Spotlight, she's the managing editor over there now, and I guess they need some more freelances, so she contacted me and was like, hey, like, would you be interested in getting back in the saddle with us? I think you did some work with us before, and I was like, yeah, so that's good. I think I actually might try to pitch her a story idea about D&D.
Oh yeah.
Just, like, have D&D, like, are more people playing D&D now with COVID? Is the game seeing a resurgence? How are hobby shops faring? They're doing this big, like, magic crossover, so maybe I could get somebody at Wizards to talk to me.
It'd be interesting to see, like, Roll20 if there's like an uptick in usage.
That's another good thing. I didn't think about that, but yeah, maybe I could contact somebody at Roll20 and see if there's been an uptick in use. Because that's how we got into it, and I talked to JR at Aloni, and he's like, yeah, we started playing more, like, once everybody was kind of sheltered in place at home, and they had this, D&D had this whole ad campaign like a few months after COVID started that was
Still a lonely loser, but
Yeah.
you're at home and you can't see your other lonely loser friends?
yeah. But it was like, the campaign was just like, stay at home, play D&D, and it was like they released a bunch of like free adventures and shit for people that were sheltering in place, because presumably they've seen some of an uptick. So could be an interesting like A&E story, which I don't usually do stuff like that. So could be cool. I don't know. I'm gonna pitch it to her here in probably tomorrow or tonight and see how that goes. But it's cool. Kind of like one of my freelance gigs fell off the map, and so I got another one to supplant it. So that's cool. But yeah.
Cool. Kind of a weird way, but we're gonna go. Oh wait, what else? Working for Metro. Oh, today got to actually sell some shit that I got because it's been like during the lockdown. I've been fortunate enough to get like these leads on like equipment, like especially with gym equipment. Like coworker had a friend that worked over at Evergreen College, and they were closing down or redoing their gym, so they're just throwing equipment away. And I got lucky enough to get some like rowers, bench stuff, and other equipment. And then just finally got to sell one of them. It was actually a quick sell. I just posted up on Tuesday and sold it today.
Nice.
100% profit.
Nice.
So that was good.
Yeah.
That's kind of just like it for me.
Like free gym equipment? You're like, hey, how's it going? You're like, yeah, I'm Mike. I called about the equipment. Oh, hey, I'm Jim. Yeah, here's the stuff right over here, bro.
It's like,
wow,
fuck.
this is all garbage. Yeah, gym equipment. What was confusing about that?
So I got any cigar tips from you, buddy?
Mm-hmm. Or do we want to talk about D&D here? We've been up to that.
Yeah, we should be doing that.
You want to do
so
that?
we have our lovely guest here. First time around playing D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not too far off from like me. I've only done like 2 campaigns prior to the campaign that we're on right now, and I know you wanted to play for a very long time.
Yeah, I have. I've always been kind of interested in it, but I've never really known people that were into it. So
Yeah, we didn't know any mega nerds.
I didn't have any idea who to reach out to at that point. As far as like, hey, well, I mean, I have a cousin who plays it apparently, and like I know he's I love you, Carlos, but I know he's a mega nerd. He probably would fess up to it anyway, but he's been playing.
You're outing him? You're outing him, bro? That's fucked up.
He's been playing since like high school,
Okay.
and he's now graduated. He's probably in his mid-20s now. I think I'm a bad cousin. I don't remember exactly how old he is. 21, 22. So he's got a lot of history, but I didn't know he played, and I've never approached him about it. So when I saw that you posted that you were playing, I jumped right on that opportunity. I was like, oh shit,
Yeah,
what's up?
it was perfect timing too because we just ended our campaign, and then we're just starting up this new one. So you just hopped along. It was pretty good.
He's got a lot of history. He's been playing since high school. It's plebe shit, bro.
Well,
Here's a question you should ask your cousin, because I assume he's Hispanic as well. So in D&D, when like one character gets a horse, do they just have the whole party on the horse and everyone just rides in the same horse? Is that how it goes? There's like 8 characters on like one horse?
possibly I'll have to ask him.
Now they all run.
It's probably not it's probably like a a mule instead or something, right?
A burro.
That's a burro. Yeah.
I gotta assume he's got a fair amount of experience because he said he DM'd some games too. So I'm like, all right, well, more power to you.
You don't have to have experience to DM. You have to be the person willing to read and understand the rules.
Yeah.
Like I just fell into DMing.
I can certainly read.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would know the rules. So I don't know that I'd be able
No,
to DM.
it's
That's for damn sure.
It's if you can read, you can learn the rules, but you have to like to read.
Yeah.
That's how I became a DM. Is that all my friends are just like, well, you like to read, and you read the fucking books. And why you make a mess, man? What are you doing?
God damn it.
Fucked up, son.
All over the mics.
So yeah, I mean, like when I started playing, I was just like young enough. So I was like 12, and my brothers are like my brother and the other person that I used to play with, who is my dad's ex-old lady's younger brother. So effectively my younger brother's uncle. But he's like the same age as my younger brother Jason. So they were like 5 years younger than me. So like 7 or 8. So like you can't hand them like a 300-page core rule book and be like, learn the rules to this. So I had to be the DM. And then from that point on, it was just like I was the one that knew the rules. So I just kind of fell into being DM. And over the years, I've played, like once my buddy Matt got into DMing, because same thing happened. He started playing with me, so he picked up the rules, and then he wanted to get other people into D&D, and if you want to do that, you basically have to be the DM.
Yeah, you can't be the D. It's like you DM. You don't know shit about it, but I'm gonna tell you how wrong you are.
Yeah.
You got to do it though.
Yeah, it's like you've never played before, but like here you go.
Take the central role and control everything.
Yeah, just control everything. So that's just kind of how it works. Like if you're the person that likes to read and you just have a mind for game mechanics, then you can pick it up. I think you could probably pick it up pretty easily. Like if you ever wanted to. Like it's just a matter of you have to know the rules like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what I've noticed about you is that you do.
It's just Well, it helps when you just come up with every iteration of D&D. I've been playing 5th edition since it was in beta, so it was like I remember I learned every change of every rule like as it happened, and you play enough games and enough things come up, and there's still things I forget. I just have to look them up every now and again, but and more often than not, I look them up just to be certain. Like I'm 85% sure, but I'll just look it up to be certain because that's how you eventually learn stuff. So yeah.
How do you feel like you're faring so far?
I'm alive, so I've got that going for me.
Well, I find it kind of interesting that like we go for a long time.
Yeah.
You weren't like like warmed up to it. Like we'll just play for an hour and then we just went for it. Right?
I just went balls deep, man.
Yeah.
I was chomping at the bit too when you guys told me we were gonna start our first session, and even just coming in to get the character build, we were here for like a good 2 or 3 hours just
time just flies away.
Talking shop, and I was ready for more. I probably would have stayed another couple hours if we decided we wanted to throw down then and play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's I think I'm doing okay. I'm trying to get the grasp of all the dice and stuff because I really want to start using those more as opposed to just clicking and using that as my crutch.
No,
but there's a lot of stuff to try to remember. All of your abilities, all of your like extra little traits, and
What are you playing for the audience?
Oh yeah, so I'm playing a dwarven cleric named Daine Lushbeard, and so yeah, I mean just the inherent traits that come with being a dwarf, the traits that come with being a cleric, and like having to remember and memorize all that stuff because there's times when it could come into be useful or come handy, and if you don't remember that, I've got stone cutting whatever, and I can determine how this was carved and yada yada, it's like you can't use it. You really have to memorize every damn thing about your character. So that's where I'm at right now, is just trying to remember as much as I can about him and all his stuff.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like part of you branch out from there. Like once you do that, then you have to know your character like the back of your hand, and that's like the player's job, and the DM's job is to know the rest of the stuff. And generally speaking, I know all of your guys' character stuff too, just because I know, as it turns out, like there's just a pretty like there's a few builds of each type of character, right? Players usually play two or maybe 3 types of clerics, 2 or 3 types of fighter, and you just kind of learn like, okay, so you're a healer cleric, right? So that's kind of like that's your role, and like most of the things a dwarven healer cleric, and so it's really easy for me just to kind of go, okay, click, that's like the category that he fits in. But I can say unequivocally, like without even it being remotely close. So I've been DMing for 26 years, give or take. And so, like, you have picked up the game faster than any player that I've ever played with.
Well, thank you, sir.
Like, just wall to wall, like, faster than anybody. Like, you're just like, you're already...
Like my mama for raising me.
Raising me right, teaching me how to
Keep
read.
my legs underneath me.
Yeah, you're, like, the best kind of player because, you pick it up quickly. B, you pay attention, which is, like... And C, you're enthusiastic. C is not that hard to find. Players often come in and they will be enthusiastic, but they don't pay attention. Like they have this attitude, like I will sit down at the table, and it's your job as the DM to entertain me. It's like, no, this is a cooperative effort, right? Like you have some weight to pull, and you took up that mantle pretty easily. Like, okay, so what do I need to do here? Like, what is like my responsibility? And it's like you've picked up everything, like the core game mechanics, the things about your character, like. You're great at remembering stuff, and you're enthusiastic, and you listen, you make room for other players at the table, and you're like, no, it's great. You're one of the best players I've had right out of the gate.
I'm trying to pick it up as much as I can, just so that I don't have to. I use you as a crutch as much because it's very easy to turn and be like, David, what do I do? What do I do? And like you said,
but that's just like looking something up.
And for just general knowledge, it's good to be able to, ask questions and stuff. But that's a way that I'm trying to push myself is to learn it myself and try to pick up as much as I can. So
but one of the things that I think makes you a good player is that I would say one of the biggest problems I run into with players when they're new is that they're afraid to ask questions. They're paralyzed with how they're used to things where it's like I can do A, B, or C. And in D&D, it's like you have a plethora of fucking things that you can do almost anything you want, and there's some mechanic for it. And like if there's not, then I can just kind of figure out how it would work based on the basic mechanics. Some people that are used to like board games or video games, they come in and they just it's like analysis paralysis. They don't know what it is that they can do. Mm-hmm. And so they just kind of sit there like quietly and you're like, okay, so what would you like to do? And they're just like, I don't know, what can I do?
Yeah.
It's like, well, just tell me what you want to do and I'll tell you how that would work mechanically. Like there's nothing that you just patently can't do unless it's like I start flying. It's like, well, you don't have the power.
Teleport through the walls.
Right. I remember this is kind of a funny story. When I first started playing with my buddy Alex and his sister, I was young. I was probably 12 or 13, and I'd gotten my brother into it, and Alex and his sister lived down the street from us, or lived down the street from my dad, so I'd go over there on the weekends, and so I kind of made friends with him because we were playing street hockey, and him and his sister came over and like, oh, we're going to play street hockey with these kids. And so I was like, hey, man, like, you should get into playing D&D with us. I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool, right? So we, like, make the characters and stuff. And I'm, like, trying to explain the concept. Like, at least you were probably somewhat primed with what the concept of D&D was. This was, like, in the 90s, right? So, like, they had never even been exposed to D&D before. So I'm like, okay, so how it works is, like, I tell you things about the world, and then you tell me, like, what your character does. And they're like, oh, cool, right on. Okay. And I'm like, okay, so you're in this town, it's like a small, like, cottage town with, like, thatch roofs and, like, da-da-da-da-da. And you've heard some rumors about this. Okay, that's cool, all right. And I'm like, so you're just walking down the middle of the town right now, and, what would you like to do? It's like, oh, okay, well, I see a bag of gold on the ground. I go over and I pick it up, and then a horse walks over to me, and I get on the front, and it's like, no, those things don't happen. Like,
no, but you're making stuff up, so I'm just going to make up stuff too.
Kind of. They just, like, didn't understand that it's like, you only control what your character does. And they're like, yeah, I walk over and pick up the gold. It's like,
let's try some improvisational.
Exactly. So that was a little bit of a learning curve. But yeah, I think players often get kind of like too afraid, like, to just ask, like, hey, if I wanted to do this thing, how would it work? Right? They feel like, okay, if I ask a question or I say I want to do something, then I have to do it, and maybe it's a dumb thing to do. So it's like, no, if you don't know how something works, you ask me how it works, and then I give you, like, here's how it would go in the mechanics of the game, and you make a decision, like, whether you want to do that, because it may or may not be worth it to you.
Yeah.
So that's that. But, like, you don't seem to have that problem. You just go like, oh, hey, I don't know this thing. And, like, eventually you'll be asking me fewer and fewer questions. Like, you'll just know how it all works. Like, when we first started playing, Chris and Mikey were just asking me questions, like, every 10 seconds. It was just like, what do I do? Okay, I'm making an attack roll. How does that work? Like, what is it? Okay, it's which die? What do I add to it? What happens after I hit him? I hit him? Okay, so what happens after that? It's like...
Well, it's definitely easier when you have other examples to base your things off. It's not just a bunch of newbies.
That's definitely helped, being able to watch Mike and Chris kind of, do their thing and follow an example as well. And
that's the knowledge of crowds, right? Like, you're in an environment where everyone knows what they're doing, and you watch what they do, and you just try to replicate it however it's fit for your characters, that as opposed to just having to not have any concept of, and operationally too, it's not just the mechanics of the game, it's kind of like, how do things work? Like, what's the process? Okay, so we're in a fight, here's how things work in a fight, and then what's the process after that? It's like, okay, then it's explore. We explore around, and then we haven't really gotten to any of the social interactions.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, because we're just in a dungeon crawl right now.
We've been dungeon crawling the whole time.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a really interesting thing when we start meeting, like, other NPCs and then interacting with them, doing the actual role-playing part, which can be fun.
I'm ready for some hookers though. That's
Sexual
sure. I want some
healing.
bar wenches.
Yeah, it's sometimes early. See, I think part of it benefited you because normally the way an adventure starts.
Roll 20 for a stroke.
Yes.
Normally the way an adventure starts out.
You just premature. You
fumble.
fumble.
You busted a nut too quick.
Oh, sorry.
This doesn't happen. This never happened to me.
Oh, sorry,
Your
Mommy.
charisma's too low. You don't convince her.
I don't think so, Poppy. Yeah, because usually an adventure starts off where it's like you start off with a little exploration. You're traveling to a destination or something, and then there's some social interaction where you get what's called an adventure hook. You know, and so you talk to people, and you're like you've heard some rumors. Like in this case of the adventure, there was the characters were drawn to this town because they've been traveling through the region. They both have like some backstory stuff that made them kind of go to a life of adventuring. They heard some rumors about some other disappeared adventurers. They talked to some people. They learned a little bit of information. And so there's like, you know, and this relatively quickly, like there was a lot more. They could have picked at that information, like a lot more and got more. There's, you know, always like, you know, a well of information, and you decide how far down that well you want to go. Sometimes you go all the way to the bottom and it's tapped out. Sometimes you just go deep enough to be like, okay, we got a quest, so fuck it, let's go. And that's what they did. They were like, oh, we just learned about these adventurers. Where are they? Over here, Sunless Citadel. Where's that? Okay, we're gonna go. And like didn't really get into the weeds and the history and like, you know, why or whatever. You know, don't even have any idea like kind of what happened to him or anything like that. But like just forayed into the dungeon, and that's where you came in. So you kind of skipped the whole what I typically call like the prelude.
Yeah.
So the whole first session often will be of an adventure. The whole entire first session will usually run through with minimal combat, if any combat. Sometimes but if it's going smoothly, you know, you don't often need that. Sometimes like you'll feel as the DM, this is kind of part of my job, is the pacing of the adventure. Sometimes you'll feel stuff lagging a little bit, and so sometimes you'll throw something in there to kind of mix it up, like get the players on their way, get them something that excites them. If sitting in the tavern and talking to people and playing Three Dragon Ante and the social interaction is not as interesting, then move on to exploration. And then if that exploration part isn't going as smoothly, then you just get into the kind of dungeon crawl. So it's usually like phases of an adventure, sort of like in the dungeon itself, there are phases, right? Like it's okay, there's a fight, and then it's like search the room for goodies, search the room for anything peculiar, like explore the environment a little bit, and then move on to the next area. And then it's like, okay, what's on the other side? Can I scout out? Okay, go in the room. Threat or no threat? No threat? Okay, let's just move right on to exploring. And you kind of do it in phases like that. And the whole adventure works that way too, where it's like exploration, social, combat, and it's like, and it works in those phases. And there's usually like an ebb and flow to the adventure. So yeah, I'm kind of curious to see whether you enjoy that aspect as much of it, because some people are geared toward that. Like my buddy Matt loves that shit. Like he loves like the whole social interaction, and some people really like exploration. Chris really likes exploration. He likes to find hidden shit. He likes to like search walls and like and some people really dig on, depending on what kind of character they're playing. If they're playing like a scholar or like maybe some sort of religious type of character, they really like the lore, right? They're like, okay, oh, there's weird ruins. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like, what do I know about that? They're always doing history checks and nature checks and all kinds of checks to try to like, what do I know about this and what do I know about that? And like, oh, I'm gonna like look into that, or like, you know, oh, there's books on these shelves. I'm gonna leaf through the books and see what I can learn. And there's, you know, usually some lore associated with the adventure that's there if it's interesting to you. And if it's not, then you could just skip over it, and it doesn't really, you know, like you're never gonna find everything in every dungeon. You're never going to learn every piece of every lore. You're never
Chris
gonna...
will try.
Chris fucking tries.
He's ready to, yeah.
He likes the exploration
Did
phase.
you find every secret door?
Well, I don't think
How
that...
secret's that door?
This is colored by... You weren't here for this, so it's colored by the last adventure. So in the last adventure we ran, there was a few... And I think I probably am somewhat responsible for this, because there was some secret things in the adventure. And so usually as a DM, there's like a backdrop, there's an overload of stuff that's like hidden from plain view, and you just assume that the characters are going to find anywhere between like 20 and 50 or 60% of it. and then the rest they just won't find. So it's like you can't have there be like in a whole dungeon, for instance, there's one magic item, and it's hidden away. And then, like, if the players don't find it, they just don't come away with that treasure. And it's like, well, you know, so you put a few in there, you put a few items and a few treasures, more treasure than you expect the characters to find. But sometimes they get lucky. And last adventure, that's what happened. There was, like, a few different times in the adventure where they found, like, big things that, like, there was, like, maybe five or six big things, and I was counting on them finding maybe 2 or 3 of them, and they found just like all 5 of them. And so now Chris is just like, oh yeah, like if I'm detail oriented and conscientious enough, like I can find all this stuff, right? And it's like be super cool and feel like, you know, I got everything. I wrecked this fucking dungeon, and it's just empty now when I leave.
Completionist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing with the bell, because you mentioned the bell, and I was walking around the periphery of this church. Right, and it's just like bugging me. He's like, "There's a fucking bell. What's the bell doing here?" And it's just like, I look up and look at the bell tower and see what's up there.
Yeah, there was that's what it was. Is they went to this old shrine in the previous adventure. They had heard this is like, and the thing is this quest had nothing to do with the main quest of the adventure. It was a total like Fallout style side quest that had nothing to do with the main adventure. It was like Mikey was playing this ranger character who was kind of like a scoundrel type, and when they were in town, there was, you know, you're in town and there's all these adventure hooks, right? All these people that have information and all this like stuff that's like for all these quests, and usually like one of them is a main quest, and maybe there's like a couple side quest things, but like you just talk to people, and this is how you learn stuff. Like, hey, I'm an adventurer, what can I help with? And so he learns, like, he's like, okay, so Chris is off doing some other thing, so I'm just gonna talk to the locals and see, you know, like, what's up? I want to try to gather some rumors, right? Just generic enough like that. I just talk to people and just see what's plaguing them, what's bothering them. And I was like, oh, you hear the rumors that you hear. He makes a check, right? A charisma check, because that's what you would do to interact with people. And then it just kind of, you just fast forward. Okay, it takes you an hour of time talking to people. Make your charisma check. You're pretty likable. So here's the information you learn. The better your check, the more you learn. And so I just give him these few things. And one of them is like, this old shrine, like to the south of this abandoned town, like way like a half a day's travel out of their way. And it's like, so they say that, you know, the town was raided by orcs like generations ago, and rumors say that all the people fled with all of their wealth. They fled the town with all their wealth, and they went and holed up in this shrine where they would be safe, and they took all their wealth with them. But then, you know, no one knows whatever happened to all that money. And so, you know, he's a scoundrel type, so he's like, money, you say? Lots of, a whole city's worth of money, right? So we're going to go check this out. So they make this detour over. They go check it out. And it's just like this pretty simple-looking church, and there's like an altar and like a couple of rooms. And there's some bad guys there. They fuck the bad guys up, kill them off. And now they're looking around, and they're like finding next to nothing. And so Mikey's like, I'm going to go search around the perimeter of the wall. And I'm like, okay. So he's searching around, and so he does a search check, and I was like, okay, gets a pretty good thing on his search check. And I was like, all right, you find this old, like, rusted iron bell sitting over in one of the towers. It's all covered with weeds, and it looks largely non-functional. And he's like, what the fuck is there a bell doing out here? I'm like, you don't know, because you don't, like, you know, he didn't do an investigation check, or he just didn't do well in the investigation check. So I was like, you don't know. Presumably it used to be up in the bell tower, but now it's not. And so he's like, huh, that's weird. So he goes back in, and they're still searching. Like, where is this giant cache of treasure supposed to be? And he's like, wait a minute. So the bell is out there. So what's up in the bell tower now? And I'm like, well, there's a bell up there. And he's like, there's a bell up there? And I'm like, yeah. Huh. He's like, okay, I'm going to climb up there and see what it is. Right? It's like 50 feet up or whatever.
I rolled super good on that, too.
Yeah. So he's like, you know, he's got good athletics. So he climbs up to the top. And I was like, oh, now that you get closer to the bell, now that it's not 50 feet away from you, you can see that it's actually not made of bronze or whatever. It's just got like this like thin layer of lacquer on it that is starting to flake off like once you get closer to it. And he's like, oh, I scratch away a little bit of it. Like, what's underneath? And I was like, it looks like it's just gold. He's like, it's gold? Yeah, it's just like a gold, like this solid gold bell that's like fucking 50 pounds of gold.
Yeah.
Right, so it's like 2,500 gold pieces worth of gold.
It's balling out of control.
Right, so like, oh yeah, fuck that. So Chris is a smith, you know, he's got the smith background. He's like, I take my smith's tools out, and I'm gonna try to take this bell down, and like, you know, they get it, and they got like this little magic mage with them. It's got this disc that can hold, like it floats behind them, and so they're just like walking back to town with this just giant fucking bell floating on the disc. It's like, yeah. Chris is like, oh, I'm a smith. I go up to the smithy, and you know, the guy in town, and I have the artisan background, and I talk to him because he's a fellow artisan, and ask him if I could use his smithy, and like while he's not using it, and I'm like, yeah, you know, it's part of your feature for your background. And he says, absolutely, use it to whatever you want. He's like, I'm gonna melt this bell down into all these fucking bars of gold. So there's like 100 bars of gold, right? It's like, and so ever since then, it's like that's like, I think it's becoming the thing that's emblematic of like a great secret find is like, what's the bell in this dungeon?
Yeah.
Check the ceiling. Check the ceiling.
Yeah, that's why. Check the ceiling.
So in case
Look up.
in case you were wondering why he's always looking up at the ceiling, that's fucking why.
Explains it.
Which is funny because it was Mikey that found it initially, but he was just like, fuck, gotta check everything.
I want to find some shit.
Anyway.
All right, let's move on past D&D. So, what's been grinding your gears lately?
We're not doing cigar tip of the week?
Yeah, we can go. We kind of missed that one.
Alright. Okay. You don't got on drop? We got drop.
No, it's not connected.
Oh, that's right,
Yep.
I forgot.
Yeah.
So I think I told you that maybe I even ranted about this lady. The gal from Indica News or whatever, remember, she was gonna give me some work freelance for like this Indian American news blog that she's starting.
What kind of tribe? Is like California tribe? Like,
No, not American Indian.
oh.
Indian American. Native Americans like me.
Like me.
No, American Indians like me. Yeah, like a poo. Like no, I mean.
Dot not feather.
Yeah, dots not feathers. So I gave her some very clear instructions because she was like, well, you know, like, what are you interested in getting paid? And I'm like, that's not usually how this goes. Usually you tell me what you pay. I tell you if I'm interested in working for you, but I'll tell you what I make at other places. And, you know, like, I'm trying to be upfront with people. Like, I don't really have any much interest in, like, haggling or whatever. I'm just like, here's what I make. Can you come to a close approximation of that? And then yes or no. And if it's no, then it's like, okay, well. So she says no. Basically, I can't pay you what you're making at other places. And I was like, okay, well, I'm more interested in kind of fostering a relationship where I can get good work and build up my portfolio. And then, like, you know, if things go well for you, we can talk about pay later if I'm in on the ground floor or whatever. She's like, great. So I just tell her some very basic things about, like, here's what I like. Here's what I want a working relationship with someone to be like. I want there to be clear communication. I want to be heard. I want there to be concrete guidelines when you give me a story, what you're looking for, a length, some possible sources, what's the angle, what's the deadline, right? That's all pretty basic stuff. We have this half an hour phone conversation, at the end of which I tell her, shoot me an email, kind of just acknowledging that we had this talk and reminding me kind of what we talked about. And then if you have stories, send them to me with the aforementioned information. She does none of this. None of it. Instead, she shoots me a text and is like, do fire story. Indian Americans affected? No punctuation, not a question mark. Just do you see Indian American affected?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is a question or like, is it, do you know any Indian Americans that are affected? Or do you think that there are any that are affected? What about a fire story? Who should I talk to? What's the angle? Like
who, what, where, and when?
Yeah, just give me give me a scaffolding, like a skeleton of a fucking story that I can flesh out. She does none of that. And so I'm kind of like, okay, that's how it's going to be, huh? And so I don't reply. And then like a few days later, she's like, what's the news? Like, what's happening? And I'm like, with what? She doesn't reply. So then she calls me the other day.
Okay, this is a new wrinkle?
This is a new wrinkle. She calls me the other day, yesterday or the day before. And I don't pick up because I was asleep. She calls me like 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, I'm not picking up. Doesn't leave me a voicemail, but I see that's her. I call her back. I say, hi. It's David. She goes, I'm sorry? And I'm like, David Alexander. The writer? You called me earlier. I'm sorry, you have to tell me who you're with. And I was like, you know what? Never mind, right? Just hung up. She calls me back a few moments later. She's like, oh, David. Hi, how's it going? Like, sorry you didn't, like, explain yourself. And I was like, you called me.
Yeah. It's like someone call you, who's this? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah. And so I'm like, man, what the And I'm like, she's like, so, you know, like, she just starts launching into, like, all these, like, yeah, I got some, like, stories and stuff. And I'm like, you know what, I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna be taking any stories. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, why? And I'm like, because you just didn't, like, I told you that I was like, there are 2 reasons why I would have an incentive to work with you. One would be that you're paying me well, and 2 is that you adhere to the parameters, like the working relationship that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And you didn't do either of those things, so I don't, you know, I wish you all the best, and I hope everything goes well for you, and certainly keep me in mind if things get off the ground and you're a little more far along than, you know, but it doesn't seem like you have, like, your ducks in a row. And she's just like, oh, well, I'm really sorry, you know, and, like, I'm like, no apology necessary, I just, you know, you don't seem like a very conscientious person, and you just didn't listen to anything I said, as is evident by the fact that, like, even when I talk to you, you're constantly talking over me and interrupting me, which is just incredibly rude, and also doesn't give me the impression that you're listening to what I'm saying, and that's evidenced by the fact that, A, you didn't even know who I was when you called, you didn't send me the email, and she's like, well, normally, like, writers, like, you know, they're receptive to, like, texts and calls and stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm not suggesting that I'm not, but I just, like, gave you very clear instructions as to, like, what I wanted at the end of that conversation, like, what the next
Did you read
steps
what you sent me?
And then I was like, and I read her back her messages. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And she's like, well, you know, you could have called me, and it's like, you know, I'm available. And I'm like, it's not my job to call you to ask for clarification as to what you want. You should be clear. Or if you could have just texted me and said, hey, do you have a few minutes to talk about a story? And I would have said, fine. But you didn't do that. And, like, I even would have let that slide, like, the whole not emailing me thing, like I explicitly asked. Like, I would have let that slide if she just said, do you have a few minutes to talk about a story? She didn't do that. And she's like, oh my God, like, she's, like, all blindsided. And I'm like, trying not to be rude to her, but I was just like, man, like, Diana was listening to me. She was like, that was, like, one of the cringiest conversations I've ever heard. She's like, I understand why it's so difficult for people to be assertive, because just listening to that made me just want to recoil and, like, wilt away from, like, all of it. I'm like, I don't know, man. Just, like, really fucking bugs me. Is like, I can't, like, why, like, she the reason I even agreed to work with her is because she just seemed kind of, I don't want to seem derisive, but she just seemed desperate for help. She's like, I just need someone to help me with, like, this tide swell of information, like, these stories that I just can't cover. I need someone else to, like, shoulder the burden. And I'm like, okay, you know, like, that sounds great. It's like, it's cool to be on the ground floor of something and, like, help get it off the ground and, like, have a good working relationship. And if it goes well, then maybe it would be viable, and maybe I would, you know, like, have some work out of it. But it was like, you know, she's basically offering to pay me peanuts, and then, like, and then also just kind of, like throwing, like, here, go do this. Like, it's like, go do what? Like, I don't understand what any of that is. It's like, it's fucking super irritating to me.
You can just imagine how that type of working relationship would go further down the line.
Oh yeah,
that's what it was.
It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna fucking stop it right here.
Yeah, that was my thinking. It was like, I just told her, I was like, none of this portends well for the relationship that I want to have with you. It doesn't, like, forecast your ability to be conscientious, thoughtful, detail oriented, like, to communicate with me in clear, concrete, specific, direct terms what it is you expect, what it is you want. I can only deliver on the things, like, I can't read your mind, I don't know what you want, and then she was like, oh, I was looking at, to give you an idea how broad and vague she is, she's like, I was reading this story about businesses impacted by COVID, and I thought that would make a good story.
Like, all of them?
I'm like,
yes.
This is a story that I wrote, like, the first few weeks of COVID, right? Like, when everybody was kind of settling into the lockdown, the question was, how is this affecting businesses? This was like 6 months ago, lady. Like, you know, like, now it's kind of like you need to sharpen that focus a little bit, because that's not going to get you anybody, like, how are businesses faring? Like, everybody kind of knows that it's not going so well.
In the news, affecting businesses. What's up with this?
Yeah. I heard about this COVID thing. You're aware of this? Like, do a story about it. Like, what about it? But I'll tell you what else grinds my gears. this is also work related, so I apologize if I'm ranting a lot about work tonight. Janice over at Metro, the new managing editor, the one that I knew at Spotlight, who I really like, and I'm looking forward to working with again.
She doesn't watch this, so you can just say whatever you want.
Fucking bit. No, she's the mint chick.
Oh, okay.
The Midwestern.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Santa. She used to be the Santa Clara City Council beat reporter for Spotlight, and then she moved up to senior reporter at Spotlight, and then she moved on to managing.
La-di-da, look at you.
Yeah. No, she deserves it. She's a great reporter. But she sent me over. She's like, "Oh, I need you to fill out this W-9," and so she sends it over, and it's one of those form fillable sheets.
Okay.
You know, and so I'm filling it out.
Uh-huh.
And have you ever had one of those things that's like form fillable? But the obnoxious part is the only form fillable part is the signature part. So you just have to fucking print it, sign it, and then like scan it and send it back. Like, this is not easier than just me giving you a fucking document.
I've never run into that before.
It's like everything, your address, your name, like all the boxes are tickable. But then when it comes, I'm like trying to click on the signature and it's like, no, there's no field there.
Yeah.
You just have to, I had to print it. And I was like, I'm not scanning. I just asked her, can I just send you a photo of it? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I was like, print it. Because I've done that before where I was like, I can't click on this. I'll just send it back. And they're like, you didn't sign it. I'm like, I can't fucking sign it. Like, I can sign it in person. But like...
It reminds me of this Dilbert comic where like the boss, the one with the fucking weird hair, it's like, I think my laptop's on the fritz. It's like, oh, I'll go over there and fix it. He like shakes it. It's like, we just gave him an Etch a Sketch. He doesn't know what's on top.
I always think of what's the I think it's Family Guy where they do this bit where it's like oh, it's sort of like that white collar humor that Dilbert's so known for, and it's like it's like a live action Dilbert, and he's like, hey, what do you call it when someone in lower management moves up to middle management? I don't know. What do you call it when someone in lower management moves up to middle management? A promotion. Here's a memo. That's what passes for humor in the Dilbert world. But yeah, so I was like, what the fuck is the point of having a form fillable sheet if you can't like put a digital signature on it?
Yeah.
Because you still have to print it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Like, it's not so hard for me to write my name and address and my social security number on the fucking form.
Yeah.
The whole thing is to like avoid having to print it and scan it and send it to somebody. Like, you want to do that remotely, you could just have it. I've seen things that have digital signatures. Mm-hmm. You choose whatever font like fits you and you like bring it over and like put it on there. Like, yeah, like that's what's up.
Yeah.
But not this one, apparently. It's fucking stupid IRS bullshit. Like, can't move into the 21st century. They can move halfway. Halfway into the 21st century. Like, we can do some things, but it's like, just like only half of it. Like, ignoring why you need the entire thing for it to be convenient.
Yeah.
Like,
how about you, Beto? What's been grinding your gears lately? No one's watching, so.
You know...
Fucking Jews ruling America.
Wait, what?
Yeah, drunk press passes here.
Drunk press passes wide.
Yes.
You know
something.
You know, in the hospitality industry. I know how you love that. I know how you love it.
It's just hotels, people. It's just fucking hotels.
This hospitality industry here, you know, and it's not just that it's grinding my gear, particularly this week. It just always does. Just these super special snowflake guests that just they love to complain about any and everything that they can right now, and you know, hotels aren't doing all that great right now. Nobody's traveling. Nobody wants to travel and spend the night in a room that somebody that has God knows what stayed in the night before.
Space AIDS.
Yeah, exactly. So it's obviously it's hurting. So our prices have been dropped significantly. We've had to make cuts here and there to certain amenities, breakfasts, closing the pool.
What do you mean I can have my continental breakfast?
Right. And, even with the dropped rate, and people know what's going on, like, unless they've been living under a rock or just intentionally kind of turning a blind eye. Or
they live in Florida or something like that.
Yeah, or they live in one of these other, redneck-ass states where they don't give a shit. But they just find any and everything that they can to complain about just to... I don't know why they do it. It's like you gain nothing by it. You're complaining about a hotel that has to shut down a lot of stuff because the government's mandating it. So you're just bitching just to bitch. I mean, honestly, and I'm used to hearing it, and it's kind of just a reaction now where you're kind of like, oh well, I'm sorry, you have to deal with that, and yada yada. But it's just like,
I understand.
sometimes you just want to reach around the desk or reach across the desk and just slap the shit out of them and be like, can you just be a regular human being that with empathy and that kind of understands what's
No,
going
I
on?
paid for this fucking place.
And that's the exact type of attitude that they have, this sense of entitlement, and especially the ones that are these frequent stayers. And they have tiers. There's your regulars. There's your silver,
liberal tiers,
and diamonds. And it's the ones on those upper tiers that are just like,
oh, they're worse.
Yeah, they're the worst. They're the ones that travel most, so they feel like that because normally, yeah, we do bend over backwards and kiss their ass and even lick it clean if they ask, but they're just so used to that type of treatment.
Yeah.
And it's just the sense of entitlement sometimes from these people. It's ridiculous. And
what's the worst complaint or request that you've gotten in your career?
Oh shit.
This fucking ice is too cold. What are you guys doing here?
What are you guys doing back there?
On the spot, I can't think of any one particular. I mean, it's just all meshed into this kind of.
My bed is too comfortable.
Yeah,
it's too soft.
The bed's too hard, or it's not hard enough. It's not hard enough, or
you get that. You really get that.
Yeah,
wow.
And we don't cheap out on our mattresses. Ours is a pretty damn good hotel. It's like an $18 million hotel, and they didn't really cut corners as far as just what they offer, but you can't please everybody there.
Have you noticed an uptick in people being a little more persnickety since COVID? Because
like,
go ahead.
For example, you get some people that are in there and they're all about the mask, and I'm in agreement with them because we're close to Stanford Hospital, and we get a lot of people that are going to the medical center for surgeries, for treatments, and so a lot of these folks are immunocompromised, and so sometimes they'll be like, hey, and we're not the mask police. We can ask them, and it's Hilton policy that you wear your mask if you're in a public area. We have to as part of our uniforms, but we can't force someone to wear the mask. And as much as I'd like to tell them, kick them to the curb, I'm not in a position to turn away any money at this point.
Right.
So you kind of just you ask them, hey, can I offer you a mask? Yeah, and they're just like, no, I don't really want one. And that's when somebody that's coming in for cancer treatment comes in, and they're trying to walk through, and they see this dude without a mask, and they're like, well, how come he's not wearing a mask? That's so rude. And I'm like, yeah, you're telling me, lady, but I'm sorry, I can't do anything about it. I can't force him to wear a mask.
Do you think that maybe, because I would venture to guess, when there's certain things, like when prices are deflated, you get to a point where people are acutely aware that prices are deflated, and so their incentive.
You get the trash coming in.
Oh, we really do.
Yeah.
You're already incentivizing them to purchase, but because you're incentivizing them to purchase, they have this attitude like, you need my fucking business, and I can be just as demanding as I want.
They try to use that leverage as much as they can.
It's what you're describing is the Munich effect, right? Like you give somebody a little bit of something, like people that are used to being treated well, and you give them a little bit, and it just makes them want more. Like that's what it was on my overrated underrated segment a few months back. This is why I love having working class neighbors, is because. I don't know anything about like your family background or whatever, but like if you grew up around poor people don't fucking complain about shit, because they're just used to it being shitty, and they just expect it to be shitty, and they're just like, fine. But like, I mean, I do get the concept, like if you're paying for something like ultra luxe, right? Like
you're paying a premium for something,
sure,
and there's expected,
and that's my attitude too. Like if I go to like a burger joint and everything isn't perfect, like whatever, dude. Like it's a fucking burger joint. But if I go to like a place where I'm paying like $100 a plate,
like if you go to the French Laundry.
French, you took the words right out. Yeah. If you go to French Laundry or some shit, everything better.
Yeah, everything better be on fucking point. Yeah. And now I'm not gonna be rude, but like I will get the experience that I'm paying for, like one way or another, or I won't come back. And I won't be rude to you about it. But like some people have this attitude. My buddy Dennis is this way. He just takes it almost too far in the other direction. That it's like, if you go somewhere and you're paying for something and you have a reasonable expectation that you will get prompt and timely service, that is attentive, that you will get the things that you ordered, the way that you ordered them, and if you just bring up that there has been an oversight and just politely ask someone to rectify it, he thinks you're just being like a dick. He's just like, you're just fucking asshole. Like, why are you a fucking asshole? Like, what's the big deal? Like, you didn't get your fucking, like, side of ranch. Is like, yeah, right, what's the big deal? Why can't she just go back to the kitchen and get it? It's like, it's not like I was like, where's my fucking ranch, bitch? I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I ordered a side of ranch with my mozzarella sticks instead of marinara. Can I get that?
Yeah.
And I expect it in a reasonable time. I expect not to have to wait till my food's cold to eat it. And, I'm not going to be rude to her, but, like, it's, like, he has an attitude, like, just shut up.
Yeah.
Just accept what you're given. And, like, and then he's, like, one of those people because, like, his old lady is in the service industry. And so he's, like, I'm a fairly decent tipper, usually baseline 25%.
Yeah.
And if you're pretty good, the 35%. He's like a fucking 150% tipper. Like, if he goes to a restaurant, he pays $40 for a meal, he tips $40.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's great. I'm not
type of dude.
I'm not shitting on him,
Yeah.
but, like, he's really, really, like, he's, like, almost all the time, like, at the least 50%. So it's like you go out with this dude and you're tipping like 25%, and he makes you feel kind of like an asshole because he's like fucking like just full fucking 20 on that shit, and you're just like,
hey man, I'm still poor.
But it's like, man, like, especially if you're tipping that much, you would think like that's like he'll tip that much for somebody who does a fucking terrible job. Like,
I wouldn't do that.
I'm not that way.
Yeah.
I having been working in restaurants before, like I completely empathize, and so it's very rare that I maybe once I've left a penny tip, and the service was just absolute.
Penny tip is the baller move because they know you didn't forget.
Yeah,
You tip 1 cent.
Yeah, I tipped a penny, and I was fucking furious. It was at that Applebee's that used to be next to Valco.
Okay.
And the service was just shit. I never went back there again.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, it's in how you approach it, right? I can tell. For me, like, I pick up a lot on a person on how they treat someone when they're in that position of not power per se, but like, yeah, you have that option. You can be a dick about where's my ranch, or you can be like, hey, can I get that side of ranch?
Oh yeah, that's the biggest. Like how you treat somebody that's like,
for me, that's a big
supposed to
indicator.
be like, it's a huge indicator. Like, especially if you're on a date with someone and you see them treating like wait staff or like concierges or people like shit, you're like,
you're a terrible person.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah,
you're done. Like
yeah.
I actually tipped. I got the 1 penny beat. I tipped negative amount on a bill one time.
How do you do that?
I want money back.
No, and that's what they fucking charged me. Because what happened was we went to a bar, and like the waitress came up and she tells us like, oh, we have specials tonight. And she's like, so specials are what did she call it? It's basically a highball. You guys know what a highball is, right?
Yeah.
Like just any mixer plus any booze.
Yeah.
That's what she tells us. She didn't call them a highball, but it's basically what it is. Rum and Coke, whatever. And gin and tonic, whiskey and soda.
Standard one mixed drink. That's usually what they put on.
Right. Just it's
happy.
Yep. So my old lady orders. She says, "Oh, so it's just like any mixer plus booze." And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I'll have a vodka cranberry juice." Okay. Right. Comes back. She has a few of them. So 2 or 3 vodka cranberries. We get the bill. Apparently, cranberry juice is an extra $2 upcharge per drink. Never mentioned this to me. So on my bill, under the tip line, I write negative $6, and I total it out at whatever. Just I'm not paying for that upcharge because you should have said something. You said any mixer plus any one booze. And when she ordered a vodka cranberry, if you were polite, you could have been like, it's just an extra $2. Is that okay? And probably would have been okay. Would have been fine, right? But it's just like she didn't say it, and it's just like policies like that, clandestine policies, especially when people tip on the aggregate of the bill, incentivize waiters and waitresses to do stuff like that. And I just didn't appreciate it. Tip negative amount, and I even like checked later. I was like, did they fucking charge what I put on? And it was like, Actually, they did. They charged me the amount that I like deducted off because legally they're not allowed to charge your card for more than that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's
They have to go by what's in that total.
Yeah, and I circled the thing too. I circled like vodka cranberry $2 upcharge and a little exclamation point next to it. It's like, yep, that's it. So yep. But no, I feel you, man. Some people just get some sort of thrill out of like shitting on people that like they know can't stand up for themselves.
Or they just try to take advantage of the situation. A particular guest came to mind right now when we were having this conversation, right? So I have this guest, right, and he checks in, and he's been staying a few nights, and of course he's one of these guests that normally wouldn't have been there if we weren't dropping our prices.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing this. He made his reservation through a third-party website, which is like a Hotline, a Priceline, an Expedia, and those are always the ones you know are going to be a headache, a pain in the ass. It's just kind of like common knowledge in hotels. And we've been seeing a huge uptick in those. So anyways, this guy, he's staying with us, and he's had a few nights stay. And, I came in on a Saturday, and I think it was after my day off, so I come in, and, this guy wants to talk to a manager. And I'm like, okay, sure, all right, I guess let me call him. I call him and say, how you doing? This is Beto, I'm the assistant GM. What can I help you with? I just wanted to call you, and I want to talk to you. I thought I should bring it to your attention. I went and I stayed at your hotel. I've been staying there for a few nights, and it was great. And, I went and we needed an extra blanket. So we typically have in most of our rooms an extra blanket and a pillow in the closet in a zip bag, plastic bag. It's like, yeah, and I went and I grabbed the pillow and the blanket, and it smelled real bad, and it smelled like mold. I'm very sorry about that. I said, he's like, you guys usually switch those out? And I'm like, yeah, typically we'll swap it out, and, if there's an indicator that it's been used. I said, it might be that it hasn't been used in a while. It might have been sitting in that bag for a little while. I'll be honest. I said, it was probably an oversight on our part. You kind of try to take the blame a little bit just to kind of ease the situation. And he's like, okay, well, this and that. And he just starts complaining, and I'm like, well, what can I do to make the situation better? And he's like, well, I've worked in hotels before too, and I love when they pull that. I've worked in hotels, so you should know, you got to hook me up. He's like, and he starts using language with me, and that's where I just usually draw the line, because when they start trying to use language with me, that's when I'm like, hey, da da da. He's like, and I got this blanket, and it smelled like shit, and I'm like, hey, look, I said, I'm trying to be respectful here. I said, I don't appreciate that type of language. I said, I'm not using it with you. I'll appreciate it if you don't use it with me. Mm-hmm. Just because when you start using that type of language, they cross a line and they think they can get away with it. They start pushing it.
Right. It's a venting of frustration, and it's like a pass to allow them to get more and more aggressive toward you.
So I check that shit. When I start hearing language, I check that shit. I'm like, let me know what I can. Well, I've worked in other hotels, and I've stayed in Vegas. I've worked in Vegas, and if this was Las Vegas, you'd be comping the room right now. I'm like, well, honestly, I don't have a problem with giving you some kind of compensation or some type of credit for the inconvenience, but I think it needs to be in line with the level of inconvenience you said.
Right.
If you told me that
you had a smelly blanket, dude, do you think that's worth a full room night?
I'm like, if it had been, you found hairs in your sheets or blood or something like that, so and then maybe we'd be talking then about a significant discount, if not a free room. I said, you found a blanket that was smelly. I said, you didn't even give us an opportunity to fix it. You complained about it the next day.
Yeah, that's what the shitty thing is that I don't like when people do that. It's like more often than not. And I've booked through third-party sites before, and in general, I try to be like a good guest either way.
And I don't mean to generalize, because not everyone uses those sites.
And there could also be something going on too. It makes me wonder if there's something that you think those people will be bad guests, so you're primed to kind of see them as bad guests already, but generally speaking, if I have a problem at a hotel, I try to be if I have a nice, pleasant time someplace, restaurant, cigar shop, wherever I go, if I have a good time, and I notice that something is not right, more often than not, I don't care. But, I usually just try to bring it to the attention of the people, so that if they want to rectify it, Like, especially because I know how some people are. Like, some people, like, will try to get a free room out of a fucking smelly blanket. If I had found the smelly blanket, I would have just been like, hey, but just to let you guys know, like, I don't care. Like, but just, you know, the blanket just smelled a little, like, mildewy or whatever. And, like, if someone else that's not me gets that shit, they're gonna fucking expect it. And those, well, thank you so much, Rod. And they're usually, like, overly, like, they're, like, trying to, like, let us, like, give it, like, no, I don't want anything. Like, I don't want, it's like, I had a fine time, and that's why I wanted to tell you this, so that, like, you don't have some other asshole nitpicking, because whatever it is, no matter how good of a service you provide somebody, people will find something to fucking nitpick if they're nitpicky people.
And most of the time, we're grateful to those times. I mean, I say it all the time. Hey, I appreciate you bringing it to my attention, because that's the only way we improve. If you don't tell me that, you know, the TV's not working or you got a smelly blanket, no one's gonna fix it.
Some people just put that in their back pocket and just like, I'm gonna put this in my back pocket and just like, and just try to get some free shit out of it later. Or it's like, you could just ask them to fix the situation.
And then problem resolved. But no, they want to go and, you know, nail us on a survey later where, you know, they give us all once. Like, oh, I had a smelly blanket. It was the worst stay ever. Like, come on, dude. Like,
it's like, yeah, have you ever stayed at a shitty hotel before?
Yeah. Like, bro, it could have been much worse, trust me. Like, go stay at a fucking Motel 6 and then talk to me about smelly blankets, man.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I've heard the same thing with, like, people, the big annoyance with Yelp now, that they'll air their grievances on Yelp, but when they're at the restaurant, especially, they're like, we could fix the problem for you.
Not a peep.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just go to the manager. They'll happily change it for you.
Yeah.
Or do whatever for you. Just ask.
Yeah. I will say one thing. If I stay at a nice hotel and there is bad water pressure or no heat, like, I'm likely to be a little less friendly.
Yeah.
Because my attitude is, what is it? Have you noticed this? Like, that's everything else is a problem at a fucking Motel 6 or a Super 8, but that water is hot enough to cook your fucking balls, and the water pressure is like a fucking fire hose.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like, the shitty hotels have, like, just like, you just want that shower in your house.
Yeah.
But I've stayed in nice hotels, and it's like, dude, everything else is fucking on point, right? There's little monograms on the mints on my fucking pillow, and I go to take a shower. I don't give a fuck about the monogram mints and how, I don't even really care about how clean the damn towels are.
Or the welcome note with the mint.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about 90% of the stuff in the hotels. It doesn't have a bed, like, and doesn't have a shower that works. If it doesn't have a shower that works, like, I get, like...
No, yeah. And it's funny you mention that, because water pressure is a big deal. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And we get that complaint quite a bit.
Damn.
The reason being because we are a newer build. Our hotel is only about 5 years old, and that was right about when the drought was like in full swing. So by law, we had to install these water restricting faucets in our sinks and in the showers, and we get so many complaints about it. It's like, it's the law. If somebody comes in and checks our rooms right now, we can get fined for having the wrong type.
See, and that explanation would be sufficient.
And I usually tell people that, but then, like, no one asks. A lot of times people don't complain, but when they do, I mention, like, hey, is this or that? And, you know, if they tell me, like, you know, oh, okay, I see you're here for a few nights. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go have maintenance, take those suckers off, you get your full water pressure, and then when you leave, my maintenance guy will go put them back in. Problem solved, right? We avoid fines, we get your water pressure.
Yeah.
But people don't say anything until they're checking out, and they're like, yeah, your water pressure sucks. I'm like, oh, well, that's this issue here. I'm sorry that, you know, you had that issue. I wish you had told us. We could have done something about it.
I didn't have any toilet paper the whole time I was there, so I just, like, shat on the sheets. Sorry.
I used your mattress, I edged the mattress to just smear my poop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing the type of shit that people will do just to like you said, get an edge and get a complaint or try to get something fucking free out of it. But such is the life of a hospitality employee.
Hospitalityist. Anyway.
Just thought of two of them right now for grind my gears. It's this weird little thing because I just started. I picked up the morning shift on Saturdays, and
it's a great shift.
Yeah, this is a great shift.
Morning shift Saturday's the best shift here.
Most of the people are really nice, good tippers. It's great.
Good tippers, quiet. Like you got time to have coffee, smoke cigarettes, quiet in the shop.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's a weird thing. It's like almost like kind of like, you know, little kids when they have substitute teachers. Yeah. Every little thing a person does, like, our teacher doesn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like they come into like, hey, come in. There's no one in the humidor. This. It's like, oh, you're not Chris. Yeah, I'm not Chris.
Thank you for noticing. I'm a different person.
Where is Chris?
Chris said I could light a fire.
Yeah.
He lets me light fires all the time.
No, I don't think he does that. And this is like, it's constant all the time. I was like, dude, I know I'm a different person. He's probably somewhere. I don't know where he is right now, but he's gonna be here later.
That's what I fucking love too. Like
It's like you're a little kid.
Like that. Like one guy was like, oh yeah, like you know Chris. Like, yeah, I know Chris. Yeah, I come in all the time. You must be new here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been working here for 12 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever, pal.
I was like, oh, okay. It's like, all
Yeah.
right.
I think you're new here, buddy.
Yeah, you didn't even say that. You were just like, no, I'm not new.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, he's been working here longer than anyone, Chris included. He was working here when Chris wasn't even old enough to drive. Like,
Yeah, that's pretty funny when that happens. Yeah, it's just amazing to me. It's like, it's like you just break them from their habit from seeing this one person in the shop in the morning, and their brains melt. You see it in their head. They're like,
it's like some sort of colored guy. I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening.
like I wave them in, and then it's like that head tilt, like that slight head tilt. And it's like, who's this guy? It's like he's not the only person that works here.
This is a trap.
Yeah. Where's a cop, narc?
I still get people thinking that I work here.
Yeah. Well, you're here. And
Did you used to work here at some point, or were you just here so frequently?
I worked here for 3 years,
Okay.
yeah. And then I just see people. I saw a guy come in today, and he like at Ohlone, and he was like, "Hey, how's it going?"
Am I at the right
He's like,
show?
"You going to West Coast?" I'm like, "Yeah, I hang out there sometimes." He's like, "Oh,
Cool.
I thought I saw you up there before." Like I was like, "Yeah, I hang out there sometimes." He's like, "Oh," I was like, "I used to work up there." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool, right on." I was like, "All right."
Another thing that grinds my gears is that I've been pretty careful with all this COVID shit. Try not to be in crowded places, wear my mask and shit like that. So I don't, like, if I get it, I don't spread it. Like, because I see my parents, I work with my dad. I
You'll spread it to me, but
yeah.
yeah.
I visit. They're older. They might not get over it. I don't know what would happen to them.
Wait, hold the phone. Your parents are older than you?
They're getting older. And, yeah, I'm trying to be very careful about that. Be, cautious and all that stuff. And then I go, like, within a couple weeks, like, my mom goes, like, we're going to Cache Creek. Want to go? It's like, why are you going there? It's like, I'm being careful. What the fuck are you doing?
For your sake.
Yeah, for your sake. And then go, I'm like, whatever. Just do whatever. It's your life. And then my dad goes, like, we got free comps in Vegas. Want to go? I was like, no, I don't want to go, you fucking psycho.
Not.
It's like, what are you guys doing? You're not 20 anymore. You can't just get over it.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle are casino hounds. A lot of my family likes to go up to Reno, to the El Dorado. And I have an aunt and uncle that live up there in Reno right now. And
I saw you that one time.
yeah, and so that's usually our let's go see my aunt, and then we'll end up at the casino or whatever. And this of course was all pre-COVID, and then COVID hit, and the casinos were closed for everyone, and they had the shakes for about like 3 months straight.
Yeah.
And they finally opened back up, and they were like, all right, they couldn't resist. They were like, let's go check it out. And so they go in, and it's just like completely different. They said it's like there's no smoking allowed, and they love to do that. They love to just sit there, and they'll smoke their cigarette, and they'll play, and they gamble or whatever. And like, yeah, and there's a lot of people that are just not wearing their masks, and they're like, yeah, we didn't feel comfortable. We were supposed to go up there for the whole weekend, and then we left after like a few hours there. We were just like, nah. They canceled the rest of their stay, and they went and they stayed at my aunt's. I'm like, well, you got it out of your system, and you went to go see what it's really like. I said, but for me, it's not worth it either. Like, shit.
Especially because people at casinos just always seem like fucking animals to me.
Yeah.
At a certain hour, yeah, because she was like, it's really calm in the morning. It's nice, but once nighttime, it starts getting packed. And then there's, all these youngsters, and, they all feel fucking invincible. And they're like, I don't need no mask. Fuck COVID. You can't hurt me. And
it's like, hey, honey, I know you missed a pill or two, so I got some condoms. And it's like her just being like, oh, that's great, because none of the other guys I'm with ever like to use them. That's kind of what it's like. You're like doing all these things like protect your parents, and they're just like, haha, free for all, motherfucker.
I'm going to Vegas. I'm not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
YOLO.
Yeah, apparently it's a free for all. I was talking to my dad. He's like, no one gives a shit. It's like, okay.
Nuts, man. Like, yeah, it's crazy how just some people can think it's a hoax, even like
I don't believe in
really,
COVID.
bro? Like, really, man? Like, I don't know. 200,000 people dead saying otherwise, but whatever. I'm not trying to get political either here, but
My favorite is I've talked to like 3 homeless dudes and they don't believe in COVID. I'm like, all right, I don't think I'm gonna take any advice from you, buddy.
they don't believe in jobs either. So
Yeah.
it's like,
House is overrated.
I'm gonna take your advice with a little grain of salt there.
Yeah.
Maybe a pound.
Sure, I'm a sovereign citizen.
Sure.
You have no rights over my person.
It just reminds me of well, have you decided what you're gonna do, Jules? Yeah, I'm gonna walk the earth. Walk the earth? Yeah, like Kane in Kung Fu. Go from place to place, meet people, have adventures. It sounds like you're gonna be a bum, Jules. You're not gonna have any legal tender. You're not gonna have a job. You're not gonna have a permanent place of residence. We have a name for that, Jules. It's called a fucking bum. Yeah, kind of. I'm a sovereign citizen. Like, no, you're a fucking hobo. That's what you are.
I saw a real life pig pen. This dude, fucking basketball shorts, no fucking shoes, a torn up shirt, like the collar's like fucking on his shoulder and shit like that, fucked up hair and a blanket, dude.
Nice.
This guy looked like he rolled in the mud. And I've seen him multiple times and like, dude, what the fuck is going on here? You get your life straight,
What are you
bro.
doing with your life?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
some people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
COVID.
Overrated, underrated.
Yeah. Why do people like garlic presses?
I don't know.
Why is it even a thing?
I don't know.
Why can't you just take the flat of your knife
Yeah,
and fucking crush it
exactly.
like everyone else?
It's like, what's like a $20 thing that does one thing not better than just like a knife? It's like, who are these people that like don't know how to like, the fact is if you cook enough to use actual garlic, what's the likelihood that you don't know your way around like how to get garlic out of the, you gotta have a garlic press? Like, what the fuck is this thing?
I don't know.
Every time I see one at the store, I kind of get mad a little bit. It's like, fucking, why do these exist?
Knock over the display. Fuck
Oh
yeah.
wow, garlic press. Wow.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't get why they even fucking exist. It's
Damn you,
fucking-
consumerism.
I know.
It's just like, listen,
But I need that slap chop.
who the fuck invented it? That's what I want. I want to smack that guy in the face. Or woman, if it's a woman, I guess. But let's be real, it's a guy.
Ooh, Wi-Fi.
He can't get into his gated community because he made millions off all those garlic presses he sold to suckers.
He's part of Big Garlic Press.
He's untouchable. He's a made man.
Yeah. But I will tell you what's underrated is souffle cups. They're like these little like fucking 1 or 2
the little
ounce
ones
plastic,
like these?
the little plastic cups. There's like you get like and you put like I don't know ketchup in it like a
Those are called souffle cups?
Yeah, called souffle cups.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I don't know why they're called souffle cups because they're too small for a fucking souffle.
That's what I thought you meant like those little
The
white porcelain
ramekins?
joints that.
Yeah, ramekin.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But no, like I had a few of them that I swiped from Five Guys, and I'm constantly like they dwindled, and I have like one left, and I'm constantly washing it. So I was like, you know what, fuck this. I just bought like 100 of them on fucking like Amazon. Let's just put everything in them, like dips. Sure, yeah, like or when you're cooking, you know how like when you're cooking and your cutting board only has so much space, and you want like you're making tacos, right? I make tacos, and so I gotta cut off some lettuce and some tomato and some avocado. And some
a taco.
olives and
Oh, trigger!
Well, you don't put
I'm pretty sure you use ground beef too, homie.
Step away from this conversation. Just kidding.
I like using that powder mix that you have on there.
I got the official Taco Bell seasoning, so I know my shit's legit.
No,
It's
I do.
fire.
I do make my own seasoning, but no, yeah, fuck you. I like lettuce and tomato and salt.
It's all right. Nobody's perfect.
That is. I used to get the the shells that were like,
Oh, shells,
The
bro.
hard shells.
the pressed dough, and like the soft shells. My girlfriend doesn't like hard shell tacos, so you should just get the ones that are
Good
like
on her.
the dough, and you just kind of toss them in there. But she doesn't like corn tortillas either. I'm a corn tortilla guy, like the soft corn
Yeah, regular
tortillas.
plain straight tortilla. Corn
Yeah.
tortillas, yeah.
And but no, so I like it's like almost like they're like burrito shells, and so they're like American tacos, I guess. It's like the way I grew up with them. But no, I like lettuce and olives. You guys eat olives and tacos? No, probably not. Olives and tacos are good. But
No, sir.
but like no, so you just like cut up a bunch of shit, and you just like put each one of them in a souffle cup, and then it just makes it a lot easier. You just like put it down there. It's good stuff. Souffle cups are underrated. You get all triggered. Lettuce and tomato on top.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Well, it's like the whole thing, that whole Chipotle thing, like the fucking white rice with cilantro,
Don't
like
get me
especially with
started
cilantro.
Don't get me started on fucking Chipotle.
It's like it's so good. It's like fuck you, no, it's not.
I like Chipotle.
I mean,
Garbage.
the one
Gives you
thing,
diarrhea.
the one thing I'll give them is that they don't, at least from what I understand, they don't fucking like super like it's pretty naturally cooked. Like the carnitas there were pretty good. I tried a little bit of the carnitas one time. It was pretty good, but like.
Well, that's
I
like,
guess
yeah,
a little more
that's,
like
that's pulled pork, right?
yeah, like a little bit more natural. They lean a little bit more natural. That's what that's the
I
one.
like the
point-
barbacoa is good too there.
That's the one point I'd give them.
Yeah.
I've had it once. I've had Chipotle once, and may my ancestors forgive me.
Yes,
I think it's fine.
But it's not bad. It's
I
just
know people hate on it. I think
not,
it's fine.
It's not for me. It's
I don't. I mean, I want it every now and again. But it's like I'm one of those people too. Like I don't go.
White rice. Fuck you.
Why do people hate on instant mashed potatoes?
I love instant mashed
I
potatoes.
love instant mashed potatoes.
I love specifically Idaho brand, specific the mashed potatoes.
Idahoan.
The butter, huh?
Idaho.
Oh yes, Idahoan. Udahoan, yes you is.
Yeah.
But the buttery homestyle ones, that's my shit.
Yeah.
Kids love that.
Yeah, it's
I
fucking
love that.
instant mashed potatoes, man. It's
It's
good
for
shit.
the whole family, and they're good. They come out like really fucking not like
Yeah.
other ones that are lumpy as shit. Those are like
I don't see people. My brother's one of those people that likes the lumps. Some people like the lumps.
Sometimes.
if it's like from coming from a real mashed potato.
No,
yeah,
I like the French. The
Oh,
French
yeah,
style
yeah.
mashed potatoes where it's like
It's
half
like goo in
butter,
your
half
mouth.
potato.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like half butter, half potato. That's what I like.
I'm the same way with au jus. I like it from the packet. Like homemade au jus is like, nah, just give me the fucking packet one.
Oh, I don't make au jus at home, so it's always like I just go out and get French dips. That's my jam.
I love French dips.
Yeah, Italian beef is the better.
Still
version
not
of-
better than Chicago beef.
Yeah, the Italian beef, the
Yeah.
Chicago Italian beef.
Yeah.
You get that shit wet, just fucking take it in the tongs and just dunk it in there and just
Yeah.
give it
Why fuck around, bro?
good shit.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to have you guys take me wherever you guys are going for your French dips.
There's a good one in Sunnyvale. I forgot the name of it, but it's really fucking good.
Oh yeah. What is that fucking place? I know the place you're talking about. I used
Is
to live
it-
right over by
Is
it.
it the cheesecake place right next to the Men's Warehouse or
Mhm.
not?
It's kind of close, yeah. It's actually, near that Trader Joe's in Sunnyvale.
Yeah, what is that fucking place called? Yeah,
forgot.
it's pretty good. I ordered from there one, but my biggest problem with French dips is that sometimes you get like they cut the beef too thick, and then it's like some of it's not very high quality and it's stringy.
Yeah.
And then so you go to like get it and it just like hollows out the fucking and you're like
You got a big old tunnel in your.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not good.
No, but this place is on point, man. It's like good, thick cut, or good cuts of roast beef, and then the bread's perfect. It's on point.
Yeah,
I gotta find the place. I'll next podcast.
good French dip. I mean, still not on a Chicago beef, but Chicago
Yeah.
beef is pretty fucking good.
I've never tried that. I'm gonna have to.
It's very similar. So it's just like, but it's usually like super thin, like layered, like kind of the way they do the roast beef at Arby's. You know how it's like thin and layered like that. So it's like that, but it's like Vienna beef, and then it's like a similar style bread. It's a little softer than the French dip. It's not as crunchy. And then usually you gotta get it and it usually comes with cheese on it, and sometimes like with little bits of like peppers and stuff in it too.
The hot peppers.
Yeah, and so it's usually like hot peppers in there, and then you can get it like what's called wet, and they just got the whole thing of au jus, and they just fucking dunk it right in the au jus.
They dunk it, and the bag's wet.
Yeah, they just give it to you, and it's wet, and it's just like so fucking good. It's just like
You're just like, oh, did I accidentally eat some of that bag?
Yeah.
Oops, oh well.
You could, because it just turns clear like instantly after you get it. So you could like eat the bag, and it would be fine.
It sounds like I met my fiber intake for the day.
It's good. It's good stuff, man. It's good. My uncle lived in Chicago. He's like, I like the French dip more than the Chicago beef, and I was like, you are wrong, sir.
So, what have you been watching? Reading?
What have I been watching lately? I've been watching a lot of Attack on Titan.
Oh, nice.
I'm on season 3,
Okay.
and I watched the first season. The second season kind of lost interest for a while, and then I saw that all 3 seasons were on Hulu, so I was like, all right, I dove back in from the beginning, and it's it caught my interest again. I like it. It's been pretty good.
Mm.
I enjoy that show. I enjoy a good anime.
Yeah, everybody enjoys a good anime. It's just what you consider a good anime.
It's all subjective.
It's like
I'm sure.
it's just like for me, I'm the same way. Like I watch Attack on Titan, and I keep meaning to go back to it. I watched like the first 4 or 5 episodes, I think, And then I was like, oh, this is good, and then I just like forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then you get far away from it, and then you're like, I could go back. But now there's like 3 seasons of it.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's a lot. It's I mean the third season is like at least 22 episodes. The second season was shorter. It was somewhere near the dozen mark. But the first season too was also like 20 something episodes. It's a lot to take in, and I don't know if I don't watch a shit ton of anime. I've watched a good amount, but I feel like sometimes you gotta like take a break from it because it's just like they just go on and on about one subject. It's like, could you just not have cut to the point and gone straight to action? Like I saw this meme.
I'm powering up.
Where it was like this nurse that she was dressed as Goku, and it's like, yeah, it's great, but it took me 4 episodes to get my fucking radiology results. It's like, okay, I was like, yeah, that makes sense because they stretch the fucking story out, but the animation style, the story, kind of like seeing the mystery of the whole Titan thing kind of play out. It's been enough to draw me in, and I get it. They're trying to build the characters and make them more relatable and yada yada, but.
See, for me, it has the opposite intended effect. People talk about, like, oh, you see Attack on Titan? I was like, oh, man, like, it just got me into anime. I'm like, really? Because when I see a really good anime, it turns me off from the rest of anime. I'm like, this is what good anime should be. And you watch, like, a fucking Ghibli film, or you watch Cowboy Bebop, or Attack on Titan, and you're like, this is the bar.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I watched some Cowboy Bebop, too.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop's a fantastically good show. Like,
the fucking music is...
It's like the high bar for fucking anime. It's so good.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like...
Oh, dude, it's great.
Okay.
It's
just the fucking soundtrack alone would have me like that intro. What is it called? Tank or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's super good show. And so it's like when I see something that good, like when I watch it's not a Ghibli film, but there's this guy, he did a couple of movies. He only did like 3 or 4 movies. One of them is that Paprika movie we were talking about that like is basically Inception.
Yeah.
Really good. And then he also did another movie, Perfect Blue, which I hadn't watched in like 20 years or something like that, and I watched. And if you've never seen that anime, if you've never seen Perfect Blue, it's super fucking good.
Look that up.
It's like just super, like when I watch something that good, and then I watch something that passes as like this is good, and I'm like, no, that's not good. Watch this. This is
Sword
good.
Art Online.
Right, exactly.
I haven't
it's
watched
like,
that.
oh, Neon Genesis. You watch it, so good. It's like, no,
I
like
did
that's
watch that.
yeah. It's like, no, this is Princess Mononoke. Watch this. This is good. This is a fucking good movie, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like when you see that bar, it's like that just makes me want to just live up in that top tier. And it makes me just like want to ignore the rest of it that might be perfectly serviceable, but I just have no interest in it because there's so many things that are like
So much better.
you like call something good, and it's like I feel that way about kind of network TV shows too. Like I'm an HBO guy, and so my bar for good is Rome, the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, 6 Feet Under, Sopranos.
First True Detective season was
Yeah,
good.
first season of True Detective might be the best season of any television
Fucking shit,
show
that was
ever.
good.
Right, so you watch that shit, and that's good, right? And there's a few exceptions, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, or something. But then someone watches some show like, oh, I've been watching the 100 on the WB. It's really good, and it's like
Supernatural.
it's
You
like,
watch that show?
It's like
But if it's coming out of I can't say I've seen a single WB show.
yeah, it's like it's really good. It's like, have you seen this? You've seen the first season of True Detective, right? The first few seasons of House of Cards.
I don't
Like
know.
you know,
It's kind of slow.
it's like you know what good television is because like you watch Rome, you've seen that show, right?
I
Like
love
that's
that fucking
Oz, like it's just fucking like there's so many like shows that are just like concentrated as one network.
HBO alone.
You can you could just live in
That
HBO
catalog.
forever. It's just like all the good shows are there.
Oz,
Yeah,
Band of Brothers.
Band of
That was
Brothers,
good.
Generation Kill.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it's just like all their shows.
Raised by Wolves. Watch it. It's good.
I haven't heard of that one. I'm gonna have to look it up. Raised by Wolves. That's on HBO.
Yeah, it's on Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
I keep seeing that and I don't know what it is. It keeps popping up.
So
on my
fucking
Google.
good.
HBO Max.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the difference? Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to do some investigation.
Yeah, I think that's like an exclusive to the service.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, Raised by this, a futuristic one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
I've
a
seen
sci-fi.
trailers. Okay.
Yeah, Ridley Scott.
So, oh, that.
Which may or may not be a good thing. I don't. It sounds like it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a
but,
good thing. Yeah.
But it's like Prometheus,
Mhm.
all
I
that.
Yeah.
like the Prometheus.
You like Prometheus? I hated Prometheus.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, mostly I was really drawn to a lot of the visuals in the story.
Yeah, I could get with you there, but I think the movie is garbage. Like I hated it.
Yeah.
I just fucking hated it. Maybe it's because I'm such a huge Alien fan. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be great. Nope, didn't like it. So some of the things he does are just like, how how the guy that made Alien and Blade Runner produced this fucking movie? And then sometimes you're just like, oh, Gladiator, right? Okay, right on. Yeah, Ridley Scott rules. And then you think he rules for a while, and then you watch something, you're like, he doesn't rule anymore. He sucks.
Side tangent. They wrote a sequel to Gladiator.
What?
Apparently, it was like a whole thing where he's in the afterlife and they like time travel to back where he's alive again or some shit like that. He gets resurrected.
Gladiator.
Gladiator.
Even
more entertained.
But yeah.
How about you, Press Pass? What have you been watching?
Oh, I've been delving a little more into Perry Mason.
Ooh.
I'm episode 6. I think I've eclipsed you. I'm ahead of you now.
Yeah. So far, like it's like you weren't too hot on it the first couple episodes, but I was like, you'll get into it. It kind of finds its groove.
Yeah.
Straight black and white TV, huh?
No.
There's a new.
There's a new one.
New one.
Really?
On HBO.
HBO.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought you guys were talking straight like black and white.
No,
I remember my grandpa used to watch.
It's like 30s noir, like back when Perry Mason is like a detective, and so that's yeah.
Oh, so it's before he becomes a lawyer.
Yes.
Oh.
It's pretty good.
Although not to ruin it for you, but they like introduced the concept of him being a lawyer way earlier than I thought they would.
Oh, okay.
It's like
I think they mentioned something in the beginning, in the first episode.
But yeah, it's it has all the elements of that I would imagine would be your jam and the kind of whole LA noir genre.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep saying you're gonna watch fucking Chinatown. You're gonna watch Chinatown.
I barely watched it.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you said LA noir.
He loves LA noir. He's never seen fucking Chinatown. It's like that's like the movie.
I come back. It's like
it's the first movie that comes to
your
mind.
Bible, bro.
I know it should be.
What was the other one I told you to watch? That was like LA Confidential. He's never seen either of those movies, and he's like, oh,
That's the one
Chinatown's
around the
on my
Black
list
Dahlia
too.
murders, right? LA Confidential.
What's that?
That's the one around the Black Dahlia murders.
No,
right?
that's Black Dahlia.
Oh, okay.
But it's the same writer.
Okay.
Actually, it's the same. James Ellroy is the guy that wrote both of them. LA Confidential has Russell Crowe and Kevin Spacey, and James Cromwell is in it.
I think I've seen
Kim
it, but it's been a
Basinger.
while.
Oh,
She plays in that red dress, right? Is that?
yeah.
I think I saw it once a long time ago when I was on a kick where I was like, I want to try to watch as many of like these. This is when they were still delivering DVDs for Netflix.
Uh-huh.
Fuck
And I was like, okay, all these fucking like classic cinema movies that people say you should watch. Okay, Clockwork Orange, send it to me. All right, fucking LA Confidential, send it. All these other like,
Yeah.
I was on a little bit of a spree. I remember seeing it at least once, but
yeah, it was like the first movie because I when I was young.
DeVito's in there too, isn't he?
Yeah, Danny DeVito.
Mhm.
Yep.
He's a newspaper guy.
Yeah, he is tabloid news guy.
The tabloid.
He's
guy.
great. They're all great. It's a great movie. But yeah, it was. I would say that was like the first movie. Like, because like you have like the classic noir from the 40s and 50s, and then there was this lull, and in the 70s they did Chinatown, and then there was like a lull, and then LA Confidential was kind of like what brought that like noir, like genre a little bit back, and the Coen brothers made the Man Who Wasn't There, also really good, and. I mean, almost all the Coen brothers movies could be kind of like are very noirish, especially Blood Simple, The Man Who Wasn't There, Miller's Crossing. Those are all like pretty hardline noirs. But you could even make arguments for No Country for Old Men or Big Lebowski being noirs as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those two movies, like those, when you say LA noir, those are the two movies that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get it, do it. But I watched that, so it's been going pretty well. I also watched My Life as a Dog, which was a movie that apparently I've seen before, because this is the movie that I was describing that was like troubling to me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as troubling on a second viewing. I was a little more prepared for the preteen nudity. So that was a thing. And considering like the first time I watched it, it was like I watched it and then that happened. And then like the rest of the movie, I couldn't really bask in like the movie and whether it was good. I was just kind of like, what just happened to me? I feel weird now. I don't know how that was supposed to play out. But like watching the movie itself, it's Swedish, so you have to like Swedish dramas, I guess. I don't know if you watch a lot of Swedish movies, but so Swedish movies have a lot of like they're very low key, they're very like
Borka.
they're very understated, and they usually have
lots of fish.
Sure, yes, but it's a solid like an 8.6.
Okay,
it's a pretty good movie. Definitely, I got turned on to it because I was what the hell was it? We watched All About Eve last week, and I watched that, and then I think it was Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick. I just followed this Wikipedia rabbit hole, and it was like Stanley Kubrick says that All About Eve and My Life as a Dog are like his favorite movies.
Huh.
And so I was like, I don't know, I never saw that movie either. So I clicked on it, learned a little bit about it. Yeah, it was on HBO, so I was like, hey, I'll watch this. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that. Rewatched Rebel Without a Cause, which Diana had never seen, and the only thing that I really have to add to that movie, which has been discussed ad nauseum, is that I never noticed how poor the sound editing is in that movie. It's fucking atrocious. Uh-huh. It's like, it's so fucking bad. The ADR in that movie is just like the worst. Uh-huh. I mean, like, there'll be someone like, you know how like there's like a certain acoustics to like the mise en scène of a film, mm-hmm. right? Like, someone says something, and within the diorama of the film, you understand directionally where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. There's scenes where it's like, James Dean is walking down a flight of stairs, and then there's what sound like voiceover dialogue just emanating from the ether of like somebody supposedly saying something to him that's not on screen, wasn't set up in a previous scene. It's just like random fucking gibberish. And it's like, I think part of it is that James Dean was notorious for like mumbling his dialogue. Mm. And so I think they had to do a lot of like dub over like work like after the fact. And
that's another person that's overrated.
James Dean?
Yeah.
How can he be overrated? He's just like, was in 3 movies.
Yeah, but they just like, there's like a cult of James Dean kind of like following like, oh, he died so young. Cause
the whole die young and leave a good looking corpse Dean.
Yeah. It's interestingly enough, this could be in the Did You Know section, I guess. There's James Dean dying was largely responsible for Paul Newman's like rise to fame, because 3 movies that like basically made Paul Newman's career: Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Butch Cassidy?
No, earlier than that.
Oh wow.
It was like even before like The Hustlers. They were talking about like late 50s, early 60s. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I want to say The Man with the Golden Arm, and then like one other movie were all like slated to be James Dean.
Oh wow!
In those films, mm-hmm. And then James Dean died, and then like Paul Newman is like,
hey guys,
the like natural
I like race cars
replacement, right? And so it's like yeah, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my god, James Dean. He's in a few movies, and he's like really only good in like maybe 2 of them, and it's like, but Paul Newman, I fucking love Paul Newman. Like Paul Newman's just like one of my all-time
like his
favorite.
Ranch, like his like his sauces.
Yeah. I was bummed when he died, man. I was like, Paul Newman died. Fuck. It was like there was like 148 or whatever he was. I was like, he was so fucking old, dude.
Oh, that's right. You were talking about that, like in the 90s. Like, how old is he?
Yeah, I watched The Verdict.
Yeah. Like
in the late 90s, and like, I was like, wow, I did a really good job of making this movie feel like it's from the early 1980s, because Paul Newman is old in the movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, this movie just is from the early 1980s. Like, that's just how old... Dude, like, anybody that was in a movie with Jackie Gleason, who died, like, 40 years before fucking Paul Newman did. Like, he died, like, 40 years before fucking Paul Newman died, and Paul Newman was in a movie with him. And it's like, he just lived, like, another 40 years after that. Mm-hmm. It would be like if a modern actor, like, was in a movie with Groucho Marx or some shit, right? Yeah. You were just like, oh, yeah, like, Kirk Douglas just died. Like, he was in a movie with Groucho Marx.
Yeah, he died not all that long ago.
Yeah,
right?
he was like he was 102 or some shit.
Yeah. I mean, this was maybe like what, 3 or 4 years ago? No, no longer.
Right? No, it's pretty recent. Right? Like maybe even 2 or 3 years. He just recently died. Mm-hmm. He was super fucking old, because he was old in Spartacus. He was middle aged in Spartacus. That was 1960. 60s, yeah, it was like early 1960.
That's funny to think of that. Yeah.
Actually, no, it wasn't even that. It was late 50s, because it was Stanley Kubrick directed that movie. And so yeah, it was like that was the last movie he did in the United States. Mm. And so yeah, it was like, fuck, dude, like that guy was like middle aged in the late 50s, and like he just died. It's like, holy shit, that's old. Like, you know you're old when your son is a senior citizen.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like, Michael Douglas is like on his last leg.
I was gonna say, he had his scares about almost dying before.
Because he's in his 70s.
He had like some kind of cancer or something.
Yeah, the whole thing was like, you know, they said you can get it from eating chicks out. Because Catherine Zeta-Jones got upset about that.
I bet she did.
Yeah.
What you give me? What you got me, coach?
While working here, I was like scrolling through Instagram, and I saw this little Nacho Libre meme, like him.
Nacho.
Yeah, Nacho. And it just triggered me. It's like, dude, I need to watch this movie again. I haven't seen it in years. And
I've never seen it.
It's pretty. It's the same director who did Napoleon Dynamite.
That makes sense because it's in my brain under Napoleon Dynamite file.
Yeah.
Like it just feels similar.
Yeah. Going back from that director, that movie is beautifully shot. Like it goes under the category of like if every frame was a painting. Beautifully lit. Everything was like meticulous in the background. How they put everything, the lighting is a really good looking movie. And the whole thing, and like looking at it now, going away from the shine, kind of like Jack Black, kind of just being inundated with that personality because he was in everything during that time.
Yeah.
So you kind of got like a little exhausted watching him. But a couple of years later, watching it, it's like I don't know. I find it very entertaining because it's like
funny.
Yeah. Because he's like over dramatic, like when he's like super fresh, he's like,
get that corn out of my face!
Get out of here! What are you doing?
Is he supposed to be Hispanic? That's not cultural appropriation.
No, he plays. Yeah, probably, but he plays this orphan that was raised in a Catholic, not a church, but like
monastery.
Yeah, monastery in Oaxaca, which is like the southernmost, like poorest part of Mexico, and Mexico, and he's been raised as in this church lifestyle, and he wants to be a wrestler, and so that the whole thing.
A wrestler.
Yeah, wrestle, and he wants to be a luchador.
Oh.
So he starts going down this course of being a luchador. He meets this random like homeless dude that was stealing chips, and he's like, hey. He got in a fight with him. And he's like, "Hey, we should team up and be wrestlers." And that's how the whole thing starts. It's pretty hilarious. And yeah, like you said, it's very Jack Blackish because he has his gigs that he does all the time, his little stunts and his playing the guitar and making the music sounds with his voice and his mouth.
Yeah,
he does his whole shtick.
I can fucking sing, man.
It's good.
He can actually sing. He can sing.
He's a very talented musician, from what I understand. I haven't listened to any Tenacious D.
Yeah,
but like
I have.
But just by like watching him play and listening, I was like, oh, fuck, dude,
it's
like get down.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like the whole idea of wrestling's real in that world.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're really fighting these people, they're enemies, all this stuff, like all the stick that they have with the wrestlers. Like they have a character, Silencio, special move, throwing people, and it's just like they live like these wrestlers live their lives like they're actual superheroes, like the. Ramses with the gold mask and he's wearing the suit. And the whole scene where he's like warming up for the wrestling match, he's like, Ramsey is number one.
He's the best.
His muscles are number one. His eyes are number one. Ramses is number one. And him eating like getting the eagle egg, eating it, flying down. Yeah, just like little parts where they're like the setup of them starting a match, like Nacho Libre's like at the ropes. And then he like does something with his shoulders, and the cape falls off. He's like ready to go.
It's hilarious.
It's great. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it.
It's worth it. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, it's worth a watch.
Just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, and whoever the actress is, who plays the.
She's so hot.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I was
I
I
don't know
ate some bugs. I wipe my tears with my hands. So yeah, that was a great little watch. It's a pretty short movie. It's like about an hour 20. It didn't even get the hour 30
It's not a
mark.
long movie.
Yeah, it's not a long movie. Yeah. So that was great. And actually, before I came here, I finished up was it Ford v Ferrari?
Oh yeah.
Bale
and Damon.
Yeah, it's a very odd movie because when you think about it, like you see the protagonists, their guys are trying to, beat Ferrari, but the whole idea of Ferrari kind of insulting Ford, it doesn't make them. You're not on their side because like Henry Ford II is a dickhead and all he cares about winning, and the idea of him going to the factory telling like fucking you guys make pieces of shit, you guys are fucking losers, come back when you want to work here. Like, who the fuck are you? You inherited all this shit. You didn't make this factory. Who are you? Go fuck off. Yeah. And it's just like the idea of like Enzo Ferrari, he was an artisan. All the machines he made were built by hand in this factory. And they're like, kind of like that's something you want to strive for instead of this big factory thing. It's like, why do you want to root for like Ford, other than these two protagonists that are trying to, set for a task to do something and they did it.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally lost on me. I just like watching a movie and I was just like infinitesimally bored. It was like I don't.
The last hour was great with all the racing. That was okay. I enjoyed it, but other than that, everything before that, I was like, this is a weird movie.
Yeah, I just didn't get why didn't get nominated for the Academy Award. Oh, we got to get to that, by the way. That's in the news and conspiracy theory segments. So yeah, so we should let's move on.
All right. But did you know roly-polies are not insects?
They're crustaceans.
Yes. they're more closely related to shrimp and lobsters.
Which are
crustaceans.
Yeah, which are basically bugs. Live in the ocean.
The bugs of the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, anthropologically, that's pretty much what they are. It's a great David Foster Wallace essay all about it.
Science, religion, mortality, philosophy.
So I was this is another one, Wikipedia rabbit hole. I read on the can what happens, and then I just go down Wikipedia rabbit holes while I'm on the pot, and I don't remember what the fuck I was. What the fuck?
Get the marks on your legs because you're like going on too long. I was like,
stretch your legs out every once in a while.
I'm trying to remember what was the impetus for it, like why I was reading about it. Oh, it was false claims about sexual abuse. So, do you know what facilitated communication is? So apparently, maybe you remember this. I was a kid, and I remember the hysteria around it at least a little bit because I was right around the age. But there was, in the 90s, there was like this slew of like allegations against people for sexual abuse, against primarily, shall we call them, marginalized peoples with autism, people that are like, just really, they're nonverbal, they can't communicate. And so all these allegations started coming out, and I remember kind of the blowback from it, like the sweeping through the hysteria of it, at least a little bit tangentially, is about as much as I remember the D&D satanic bullshit blowback in the 90s. And so I guess what happened is that these people were
Sorry to interrupt the flow.
no worries. They were
gotta flow with the flow.
They were
hold on, we should do the thing. Oh, where'd he go?
Oh my god, what happened?
I'll edit that out.
I forgot what I was saying. Fuck.
Non-verbal people.
Right, so these people were communicating through this facilitator who claimed that they could kind of like read their emotional states. And it's basically a lot like TT, therapeutic touch. But it's like they claim that they could like communicate with these like autistic people, and they were primed already to see, they form this bond with these people, and they're primed to see kind of bad things, people trying to exploit them because they're kind of tasked with being their protectors or whatever. And so these people like established these communications, and like they allowed them to like basically testify on behalf of these people that are nonverbal. And so they're just like, I don't even know how they're supposedly doing it, but they're just like basically making shit up.
Yeah.
And claiming that these people were abused by person X, Y, or Z. Some people had their kids taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, taken away. Like, oh, you're just like, you're abusing this kid. Like, just for like years.
Yeah.
And it was like, it turns out that it's just been like widely scientifically discredited. Like, just the basic. And it was on like Nightline and like, what's the other big one? 2020, 60 Minutes, whatever. It was on like all that shit about like how these people could do this. And like, it always amazes me when you. Because now I don't have a large degree of confidence in like Nightline, 2020, 60 Minutes. Like, I don't feel like their investigative rigor is where it used to be. But when I even look back at something like this, like nobody cast a remote skeptical eye at like they can communicate with these autistic people that are nonverbal, and like this is a superpower, and they're just claiming that they can like communicate these people's wishes. And apparently Nightline or no one else just thought to like do a very basic like
It just kind of reminds me of
control.
like psychic investigators, like they get these cold cases, like they're talking to me from the dead. Your aunt did it. It's like, what?
I remember I did my honors thesis on psychics, and it all kind of came derailed. But talking to some people that are like I don't necessarily think that all those people are charlatans. The psychics. That they're necessarily like. I think that a lot of them buy their own jive.
That's why we should build a wall and make Mexico pay for it.
Hell yeah. Wait.
Hey, no, wait, calm down.
Mark my words. But
Big wall, a very big wall.
Huge. It's gonna be beautiful.
Trust me.
It's gonna be great.
But yeah, I think that the skeptics that try to help the police are just fucking terrible, even if they don't mean to. Because I talked to this guy who was like a homicide investigator for like 20 years, right? For whatever reason, he deigned to give me a fucking interview, and I interviewed him for like an hour, and basically his was like, here's the thing, is we have protocol, and protocol is that you do not turn a blind eye to something that could be a lead in an investigation, no matter how dubious. He's like, but in my 20 years as an investigator, I've never had a psychic ever provide me anything substantive, and usually they derail the investigation in a direction that we would otherwise not go. And like just learning that little bit of information, and I would venture to guess that if I talked to somebody like Bruce Wiley, he'd probably say exactly the same thing. And that's like, to me, it's like that's bad. There should be some sort of policy or armor against psychics doing that. Because even if they buy their own jive and they're like, like believe
that
they're
well, like good intentions, they totally believe that they're doing that. They have that power.
See, did I ever tell you about this? Is a weird fucking thing that I never got to the bottom of. So when I was doing my honors thesis, I came across this woman who, what the fuck is her name? I can't remember her name right offhand, but she had claimed to help police in substantive ways with several investigations, and she listed the cases. And so like I just started doing some digging and like found out this woman was on Larry King, and like apparently Larry King thought to do no legwork or fucking anything to check her credit.
Sylvia Brown chick? Or is it someone else you're talking about?
This was years ago. It might be, I don't know, but she claimed to like have like all these whatever, like things for this specific case. And so I started digging into the case and did some like requests for like these case files, like a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, which is something any member of the public can request, public documents, which includes closed cases and stuff like this. So it turns out that they did solve this murder, and or at least made an arrest, let's say. And so I was trying to like dig in, and I was like asking about these files, and turns out like none of the files that like were with the case like just like even fucking existed. Like they just didn't exist, and it was like, and so I was like trying like back and forth with these people in Arizona for like a fucking probably like a year.
Oh wow.
Trying to get like this information and like trying to just get somebody to say something about like this case, because it was like one of the linchpins in her like credibility, and she had like carried this credibility forward to get on Larry King and like make a notable name for herself. And I interviewed her, and she like detailed all this stuff of the case, so I had some information to go on, and like I started just like digging into it a little bit, and was never able to like turn up any fucking case files or anything that had anything to do with this lady at all. And then I got distracted with something, I got a job, and like kind of let it go. But it was like this really weird
He's
thing.
like, whew, took him off that case, off that trail.
But it was just like really weird. I was like, man, I just don't know like how there was just like no information available at all. Really super fucking weird gap where it was like
the X-Files theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was. One of those cold cases where some kid got kidnapped. They were like stuck in a dungeon for like years, and I think it was like one of those daytime talk shows where they brought the psychic, and then she's like, "Oh, she died. Her body's buried here and here, or this place." And she's like watching the television. I'm not fucking dead, asshole.
I'm very much alive.
Yeah, I love watching videos like that where people like James Randi was notorious for that. He'd go on.
Oh, some of the videos are great.
Yeah, he just like goes on there and like debunks like Uri Geller and like the guy's like, oh, I can like turn the pages of the phone book or like make things stick to me, and he's just like, yeah, that's just a really simple thing. Like, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna apply some controls here, and we're going to put all this paper on the phone book because all he's doing is just blowing on the phone book, and it's going to just put this paper here, and if he blows, you'll be able to see it, or like we're gonna put baby powder on his person, so this metal like adhesive or whatever that he has on him like won't stick. The baby powder will stop that, and it's like, and yeah, lo and behold, this is like, yeah, can't do that stuff.
Carson was really up on that thing, like all the charlatans. That was a pretty cool thing that he did during his run.
What did the guy say with the phone? He's like, oh, there's too much static electricity.
Yeah.
Too much static electricity. It's interfering.
Yeah.
Or guess where the water is in those like metal cups or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's too much interference right here. I can't.
Yeah. No, that's one thing that was cool about Carson is that he was keen, like he would have those charlatans on his show, but he'd have guys like James Randi on his show too, and he'd be like, oh, this guy says that, and it's like, and good for him, kudos. Not only is it the responsible thing to do, but I also think it's better TV.
Oh yeah.
Like in general is like,
It's not Geraldo opening up Al Capone's safe.
Hey, there could have been something in Al Capone's safe. No one knew. It wasn't Geraldo's fault. Leave Geraldo alone.
Shirley's cat.
No,
he's a nice guy.
Oh, he was responsible for that, like, or at least greatly responsible for that whole like satanic cult like hysteria too. That he was on that bandwagon.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time.
Stoking fears. He's doing great on Fox now. He found a great home for himself.
News, conspiracy theories, and pop culture. What you got for that one?
Oh, so did you see that the Oscars have officially enshrined that they are woke in like actual policy now?
Like that's in word, like woke.
If you have to say you're woke, you're not really woke.
They didn't say woke, but they have like all these like films will not be considered that do not meet the following criteria, and it's all like
Bechdel test.
At least have people of color as the actors. It's like
not just that. I mean, it's like people that are like on set, like the key grips,
the staff,
and the production assistants.
The caterer has to use.
And it's like if you don't meet those, you know what? And like I'm actually glad.
You
like,
have to offer tortillas.
I'm actually glad that they just officially said like you just won't even be considered. Like, and that's fine with me because like I just know. Okay, it's officially a sham now. It's just officially a fucking sham.
The whole thing has always been a fucking circle jerk. All these like Emmys and Grammys. It's like, okay, great.
It's an advertisement tool.
We get it. You make great music. That's why you sold 1 million copies. Do you really need to have all your fucking peers around you tugging at your dick so that you realize how great of an artist you are? Like,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
And then you got people like Kanye that end up going and pissing on their fucking Grammys anyway.
And how he cries every time he doesn't win a Grammy.
Come on, man. Like.
But I will say that there was a time in this country where the Oscars did mean something. Like
sure.
there was like and not that long ago in our lifetime even where it was like it counted for something if you won a fucking Oscar. I mean there are some outliers, right? Like you know what beat Citizen Kane out for Best Picture? How Green Was My Valley? You ever see that movie? You ever even fucking heard of it? No. But like and like don't get me wrong, I'm not like on that whole Citizen Kane bandwagon or whatever, but it's like plenty of movies like don't even for me it all started with what was it fucking Chicago.
I thought it was gonna be Crash for you.
Chicago won fucking like was up for 12 Academy Awards and it won Best Picture and it beat out Gangs of New York. Did you see fucking Gangs of New York? Gangs of New York was a fucking dope movie. Like and it's like that,
rabbits.
And then it's just like it was all just like a steady down. And then like I think the big drop off was in 2015. For me, it was like that was the year that they were like, oh, you know what's gonna win Best Documentary? Amy Winehouse, and like the story of this tragic artist. And it's like, and then Mad Max Fury Road came out that year.
Yeah.
Mad Max Fury Road fucking came out that year.
It got nominated.
Like, did it even get nominated?
It got nominated for Best Picture.
Whatever. It didn't fucking win, and it's like I don't even remember what was up that year. Like
Finding Dory won or some shit. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just.
Was it 2015?
Yeah,
Oh boy,
that was a good year for movies though. I think it was 2015. I think Ex Machina came out that year.
Probably.
I think Room came out that year. I think The Girl in the Book came out that year. All of which are dynamite movies. And it's like, 12 Years a Slave won that year.
Oh.
That's what won. And so that was like the beginning of like the big draw. Like if you're the most woke, then you just win. Like that's what happens if you're just super woke, is you just win. And so now at least they have it. I hope what happens is that they just wither away and like it just dies. Like it just like some other award, like whatever Cannes or the BAFTAs or something, they just take up that mantle. That's the award you win now if you're actually a good movie. Or maybe it'll just free up other directors to just be like, oh, I don't make movies like that. Like, okay, I'm just going to make movies that are good. Like, you know, they gave Scorsese a Best Director Oscar for a movie that he was like a fucking remake of a movie. And as much as I love The Departed, it was like, it's a remake. Like, it's how, like, it really just is like past grievances against him. Like, oh, he didn't win for fucking Taxi Driver.
Yeah, it's a makeup call.
Right, yeah, it's a Mean Streets. He didn't win for
him.
Raging Bull or Goodfellas or fucking Casino or Gangs of New York or The Aviator or any of the other fucking half a dozen movies that Scorsese directed that probably all deserve something.
We better give him something before he dies.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
Yep.
And you know what?
Same thing for Leo with, you could say any of the movies he made in the last decade. Yeah, and then like The Revenant. This is good enough. I don't think it was
that was a great.
But that's the problem with the Oscars is that it's like on a year-to-year basis, and I was going to actually use that as an example because when you go back and you compare every performance that was up against Leo in the years that he was nominated, I do think that whatever the performances that like okay, so the year that he was up for Wolf of Wall Street, right? He's good in that movie, and it's a far superior movie to Dallas Buyers Club, but McConaughey just fucking crushes the puss in fucking Dallas Buyers. Right. He's fantastically good in that movie. It was like I saw that movie, I saw season 1 True Detective, and I was like, maybe I gotta turn around this fucking McConaughey guy.
Yeah.
He's
like,
a good fucking
maybe I gotta turn around this fucking McConaughey guy because I always hated him. Like it was just like, he's just like this pretty boy with like.
Wow,
this...
man, my body's all proud.
Yeah,
I like
that. Just guy just fucking take his shirts off. Yeah, I hear. Yeah, he's so like those are the two performances that really turn me around. And like when you hold up his performance in Wolf of Wall Street, it's like it's good, but like.
He's had better performances.
But like McConaughey is like when I first saw before I ever knew who DiCaprio was and I saw What's Eating Gilbert Grape, my first thought was like how sweet they put that little retarded boy in a movie. And then I'm like, wait, he's not retarded? Like, oh my god, that guy's such a good actor. Like,
he was great. Like just the mannerisms and to quote fucking Tropic Thunder, he didn't go full retard. You know.
Yeah,
he did a great fucking job selling it as mentally. I don't know what the fucking PC term is,
retarded.
But you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's a retarded kid. He played it.
Yeah, what about Basketball Diaries? That's a movie that he was in that it never gets.
That was crazy.
That was a good fucking movie too.
Yeah. Him and Marky Mark getting back together in The Departed. It was the reunion, bro.
The reunion tour.
I forgot they were both in that movie.
They were both. Yeah, him and Marky Mark were both. That was like one of Marky Mark's first roles.
What else? Ruth Bader Ginsburg
kicks the bucket.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah, it's a. Here's the thing that's like, what sets the stage interestingly enough for that is that I think she was hanging on to see if Biden won.
Yeah.
And she was like, either she wasn't going to retire.
Yeah.
So now Trump gets to appoint a third Supreme Court justice, and if he gets reelected, the likelihood that he'll appoint at least one or maybe two more Supreme Court justices to have 5 appointments. I don't know if that's ever happened in U.S. history.
I can't think of it.
Where a guy appointed 5 Supreme Court justices, or even 4. So that's impressive. And part of the thing that, like, I think what he's going to try, like, this is what worries me, is I think that he's going to try to get enough justices on the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
I think that's the goal. Is like, I want to overturn that Supreme Court decision, and it's like, that's a little troubling. And it's like, yeah, so I don't, like, it's, sure, we could all talk about, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's legacy and, the lady on the Supreme Court or whatever, but, like, Clarence Thomas is almost certainly done. Like, he's
on his way out too, man. That guy's...
He's been on the Supreme Court for like 100 years.
He's old as shit.
He's fucking old as shit. Oh, FYI, did you know this? This was on a previous Did You Know segment. They have a basketball court on the roof of the Supreme Court.
You really love that one.
This is not a joke.
Yeah,
Well, I love what it's called though. The name of the basketball court, the highest court in the land.
Wow.
It's so good. I don't know why I just got like so woke on that.
That's great though. That's a good play. I like it.
Clarence Thomas. Wouldn't it be awesome if
This
RBG
is like
was
shooting
just...
threes.
All these old ass dudes and fucking dudes and ladies in robes actually got senses of humor.
Wouldn't it be funny if Clarence Thomas wasn't that good and RGB was just like fucking crossover dribbling on everybody? He's like
breaking
fucking
ankles left and right.
Was that a real picture of her like being carted on a rollaway chair? She's like in a big jacket, and then you could see the legs, the rolling legs, and then she's just standing there, and someone's just pulling her. I don't know. She's like super tiny.
And she was in really bad health. She had been in and out of the hospital for like a while now, battling that cancer.
Yeah,
and it's like you said, she was trying to hold out until there was a new president. Like she was trying to hold out.
Yeah, she even said so.
To be like, I ain't trying to give Trump another, SCOTUS appointment. And
I admire her resolve, I guess, to her,
she held it as long as she could, but she couldn't do it. She was already in bad shape for a while now.
She was old.
She was. They all are. Fuck.
Yeah.
You gotta
well, Sotomayor's pretty fucking young.
What's the new guy, Robert? Or what's the
I like beer.
Kavanaugh, right?
Kavanaugh.
Hanging with Squee, working out.
Are you talking about Gorsuch?
No. Kavanaugh.
Yeah, because Trump appointed.
He's relatively young.
Yeah, he's pretty young.
I think Sotomayor's still younger than he is, though, isn't she?
She's pretty young too.
Yeah. It's funny, you see her photo like when she was first on the Supreme Court. And it's like they like this because she was like the first new appointee when Obama was in office, and so it's like she's all like, and everyone else is just kind of like, fucking another one
What's
of
with
these.
this kid?
Yeah, exactly. They just look so grumpy and like just whatever.
Just wait till reality sets in.
Yeah.
Wait till you have to voice all those dissenting opinions, and then you'll see how much you're smiling.
Like, fuck you.
She's probably looking around now like, what is happening? All these fucking conservatives all of a sudden.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
So I think that does it for this week. Got anything else?
No, that was all I had.
How about you, Beto? When's that new mixtape coming out?
When's it gonna drop?
I'm still in talks with Lil Yachty.
Uh-huh.
And he's gonna help me out. He's probably gonna be on a few tracks.
Oh yeah.
He Mexican?
No, he's not Mexican.
So, you guys ever watch Home Movies?
No.
So it's a Brendan Small show. It's a guy that did Metalocalypse and all that stuff.
It's that really like crazy animation style where like a lot of the lines.
The squiggle vision.
That's only the first season.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But yeah, you got.
I wonder if it was really hard to do squiggle vision. Like, we're not doing this. This is bullshit.
That was part of it, but it was also part of that was already associated with Dr. Katz.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of wanted to have it be a different thing.
Yeah.
But there's this one part where one of the characters is talking to Coach McGurk, who is C. John McGinley. Fucking what's Archer?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the voice of Archer,
Mm-hmm.
the voice of he does a lot of voice work.
Yeah,
But he's Coach McGurk in
Okay.
that show, and he's like,
hey.
yeah, I'm going down. One of the other characters is like, I'm going down to Mexico way, and he's like, what? Why are you being weird, Lynch? What are you saying? He's like, Mexico? That's how you say it. And he's like, who says it that way? He's like, the Mexicans. The Mexicans.
Mexicanos.
Anyway, take us out.
Oh yeah, next week, Sopranos.
We'll
Right.
see.
We'll see. What?
No, but yeah, we can get through it.
Oh,
I haven't started. We'll start tonight.
yeah, we got time. All right, that does it for this week. Don't be a fool. Wash your hands before you eat the gabagool. Ciao, baby.
Adios.
What? What are you saying? Aloha.
Arrivederci.
English, motherfucker. Do you speak it?
Do you understand the words?
Thanks for listening to Mikey and the Press Pass podcast. Consider subscribing. You can rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. And you can also write us with any ideas, suggestions, or horrible burning criticism at mikeyandthepresspass@gmail.com. Thank you.